How to keep the healing.
Make sure you like button. Sundays. Shout out to the sponsor, Richland.
Guys, listen up. As you get older, the best way to continue to look young, exuberant, and vibrant is to continue to take care of your skin. That's why I'm excited to have T-Chanley as the sponsor of today's video. You heard me talk about them before, and you're going to continue to hear me talk about them because I believe in their products and the positive impact that they have on every man's life. T-Chanley makes taking care of your skin so easy. They provide you that you don't. Every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. Lapeef family, I must admit, skincare wasn't always something I always focused on, but since I started using this system, I've seen improvements in the way my skin looks and feels. And you don't have to take my word for it. They have over 5,000 5-star reviews on their website from satisfied customers from around the world. I recommend you start with the level 1 system, which comes with all the basics: a daily face wash, an exfoliating scrub, an AM moisturizer, and a PM moisturizer. In addition to amazing skin, members of T-Chanley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off retail price, the ability to customize your box, pause or cancel at any time, and free US shipping. And because T-Chanley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers a great deal. Just click that first link in the description and you'll get 30% off the first box plus the free gift. Seriously, that's an amazing deal. Even though it's too early, as I often say, it's never too late. Click that link and get started.
question. So we promote marriage, we promote relationships for men. That's what we're about. We think that it's the backbone of our society, so on and so forth. But is it unrealistic for men to marry for the idea of love? And I ask this because women become men's weakness. The woman most men love becomes his weakness. It's what you alluded to earlier. Tyrese saying that he still loves this woman who is, obviously trying to screw him over. So is the idea of love for a man unrealistic? And if it is, then what is beside business, what's a good reason for a man to pursue marriage?
Well, the reason for a man to pursue marriage is to give it's a selfless service. I look at it as a selfless service. And the service is primarily towards your child. And the child and with the intention of having the child raised correctly so that you can continue to build something, as a race or as a group, as a people. And the love is a connection that comes between you and a woman and a child. But also you have love for your kind, your ethnicity, your culture, your people, your ancestors, your tribe, your family. It's a historical thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not solely based on, the transactions you get between a man and a woman sexually, emotionally, and all that, physically, stuff like that. But it's deeper, you know what I'm saying? So it is worth it, but it's becoming monetized. It's becoming more swayed towards the business side, like you stated. So whenever it's more swayed towards the business, when it's more leaning towards the business side, then one could argue that it's unrealistic for you to lead off with love, to marry for love. And that's what it appears to be. It appears that, I mean, honestly, Sir Hell, I would tell brothers, hey, look, you got to find something else other than love to be married for. There needs to be something else. That can't be the only thread, the only string that's holding you together, because it's a feeling and it could change. I can't tell you how many times me and my wife argue to a point where I like want to. I'm not gonna say it on live, but it changes, and you just got to de-escalate. So what do? Like you have something else to back you. You go, okay, what do we have? We have memories. We have a life together. We have future. We have goals. We have children. So whenever you look at the children, you're able to make a determination like, okay, look, I'm here for more than just you. I'm here for more than just love. You know what I'm saying? I want to see some progression amongst my community, my people. And ultimately, I want to see our community reestablished. And the only way we can do that is strength in numbers. If we don't come together as a community and we don't have any structure, any class, a common goal, any mutual connection, that we want to achieve as a people, how can we ever reestablish a community when we're divided? When men and women are going astray and we only here for transactional reasons. You get what I'm saying?
I definitely get that. Yeah. So I appreciate you answering that. The reason why I asked it is because it's interesting. Like Tyrese was one of the guys who've been singing about love his entire career. You know what I mean? Like his whole career is based off of love and finding this woman. And to see him dealing with it, and I say this to say, I think that so many men have been pumped with the idea of find the woman that loves you. And once you get a man to pursue a woman from that mind frame, he can't really see who she really is. He can't see further than that. And so I think men should pursue wives. I think men should do that. But men should do it with their heads and not with their hearts. Because if they do, they put themselves in a position to get with a woman who gives them just enough to blind him from seeing who she really is. So I really appreciate you answering that.
And that's very interesting. So it's like if you prioritize love, and that's like your whole motivation, and your whole reason is built on that. That can literally limit you from being able to touch other things that may be important to the point that holds you together. If love actually fails, and you'll just be stuck with that connection, and you don't have anything else to be in a marriage for. That's an interesting way to look at things. And
But here's the thing. So a lot of men marry a beautiful woman because she adds to his status. But real marriage is not based off of how she bolsters his status. It's really about her service. And unless a man finds a woman who comes in with the heart ready to serve her man and to really produce something for his life, he's gonna marry wrong. And you'll see it. as time goes on, he becomes her come up. And the reason he's her come up is because she was looking for help. She wasn't looking to help. And I think it's important for men, especially men of means, to vet women and see how she can be in addition to his life, and not bolster his status, but provide service, because that's what a wife is. She's a helpmate. She's to provide a service to her husband and to her family as well.
Excellent. That makes a lot of sense, and that kind of exposes a lot of issues that a lot of guys are going through. And I would even argue that in that case that you presented, that oftentimes a man with so much power and stature and status and stuff and wealth could possibly overwhelm the woman and make them feel like they can't even amount to have anything to add to it as far as helping her or supporting her. Like, oh, this is Tyrese. He loves me. He wants me. What could I possibly do for this guy? And they just leave it at like, and I think it goes to a woman's head, and she just think that she's just being, that, oh, that's enough. Your beauty, you know what I'm saying, your attraction, that's it. And she probably, her head swells, and she's like, well, I don't have to do shit else. And then I'm sure you can attest, she's probably got a circle of friends in her head like, yes, girl, we knew you can get a man like that. We was waiting on it. That's all you got to do. Get him, make that man do this for you. Don't take, and that's where it ends at. And she doesn't really get to the point where she can actually support this man, because she don't see herself having to do anything else, because she felt like, oh, she's kind of overwhelmed. Like, wow, like this is what I have to do. Mama raised me right, I guess. So
That's a fact.
It's go time. It's go time, family. What's going on, family? Welcome to Lapeef-ING Sundays. Let me go ahead and introduce the crew. We got Miss Mary, the Connections, the Real Precious, Pink, Fantasy Island Girl, Jay, a Story to Tell, Louise, Lady Mobilette, Big Cloud Jones, and me, myself. I'm Lapeef JR. Welcome to Lapeef-ING Sundays, family. How y'all doing, family? How y'all doing?
Doing good. How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Doing great.
I'm wonderful. You guys should have been here for the pre-show.
No, we had a whole pre-show.
It was awesome.
It was the warm up. It was the warm up.
Yes.
To test the temperature in the room.
Yes, I apologize. Man. It was definitely a good pre-show. And now it's time for the main event. As you guys seen on the thumbnail, did a man marry a woman for her love or for her service? I woke up this morning to some elegant but impactful content from Brother Bruiser and Sir Hale. So make sure you guys go ahead and follow Bruiser on his platform, which is Concur Network, and also make sure you guys follow Sir Hale. So I wanted to highlight that video within a timer because it was a pretty long video. So I thought I can fit it in the time, and then that way it kind of plays into what we got going on. So I want to do a deep dive into what was said in that video. I took some questions and some of the statements and perspectives that was said during it. So I kind of want to make sure we keep it on track. I know you guys saw the whole thing in its entirety, but I don't want to jump ahead, if that makes sense. So I want to, before we get this show started, hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Shout out to the sponsor, Teach Hanley, Uncomplicated Skincare for Men. 30% off along with a free gift. That link is in the description. And shout out to all my green gang that's in the chat. Tay Biz TV, Ed Hill, Hink in the Basement is in the chat as well. Julius Germain. If you want to become part of the green gang, that link is pinned to the top of the chat. Go ahead and click in and go green, special perks, fancy emojis and so forth. And I would periodically highlight the comments throughout the broadcast, even if you don't super chat, just for you being a member. With that being said, let's go ahead and unpack what was said in the timer. If you're just tuning in, you missed it. I will kind of highlight some of the clips throughout this broadcast if necessary, depending on what it is. I may not do it for everything, but the thing I want to start off with first is what Sir Hale said. He says, the women most men love becomes his weakness. The women most men love becomes his weakness. Let's go ahead and unpack that. I'm gonna go ahead and start off with you, Precious, first. What are your thoughts about when Sir Hill made that statement?
I believe it's true. Women have, or men have done a lot for women. Men will put their lives on the line for women. And when it comes to it being their weakness, it's almost like they're created that way. And not to be weak, but to serve the woman. And just like the woman is to serve the man. And so I think it does become his weakness. I think it does. And it takes a man to be emotionally aware and emotionally and has a strong mind to not let it become his weakness so he can, continue to be the strong man that he is.
Okay. I'm gonna go to you, Jay. The women most men love becomes his weakness. What are your thoughts about it, sir?
I look at that as, the way I understand it is, if a man loves a certain type of woman, he's gonna do whatever it takes to, achieve that woman. So I took it as, if he is attracted to the wrong type of woman, but he has a thing for them and he loves them, he's gonna forever be chasing that type of woman unless he's taught differently. That's how I understood it. You like this specific type, and in the event that this type that you like isn't good, you're gonna have a tough time.
Okay. I'm gonna go to Lady Mogulette. What are your thoughts? Most men love becomes his weakness.
So, I think that the reason why that's even a thing is because I think, like when a man loves a woman, it opens up like when he really loves her, it opens up like a deep emotional connection with that woman that makes him a bit more vulnerable and trusting than he would be with anyone else. So I feel like in that way, like because most men associate that with weakness, that might be considered his weakness. But I don't think that I don't speak that over people. I wouldn't want to say that. I would say that love is supposed to empower you and strengthen you. So if it's a healthy relationship, she's not going to become his weakness. She's going to become his strength. But for the reasons I listed earlier, I can understand why they would think that that's the weakness.
All right. Appreciate that perspective. Ms. Cloud Jones, what are your thoughts about it? Sorry, then I go to Kelly Connections. The women most men love becomes his weakness.
I think it really depends on if we're talking about, just love on a regular level, or if we're talking about in love, because like you could love your mom, you know what I'm saying? You could love your sisters, you could love the women in your community. But if we're talking about when a man is in love, I feel like that's a certain level where it definitely can become a weakness for a man. When you're in love, you're not really thinking logically. And as men, we're kind of charged to be here to be logical and to, be in control. So if we're in a situation we're unable to maintain our logic because we're in an emotional state, I think that it's dangerous and disastrous for everyone involved. And we see it every day. These guys that are like it's always the guys that say that they love hard that are the ones they making a movie about. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like when something goes wrong, the emotions take over. These are the guys that might get violent, get crazy. So it can absolutely be a complete weakness. And I think on another level, if we're just thinking like logistically or strategically, if you have someone that you love and it's public and your enemies know who it is, that's absolutely a weakness, because enemies want to try to throw you off your game. Well, what if I go try to talk to his woman just to mess with him? What if I try to attack, his family? So it absolutely can be a weakness in different ways. But I think it really depends on what form of love we're talking about.
All right. Kelly Connections. The women most men love becomes his weakness. What are your thoughts, ma'am?
Hello, and thank you for having me on the show today. Shout out to the Lapeef Network. Whoop, whoop. So the question is, the women most men love become his weakness. I I disagree. I think the wrong woman can be a man's weakness because a lot of men will go after the woman that they know is not right for them. I feel like I've had conversations with men and they like two different women, but they like the bad girl more than the one that's good for them. The one that is the wife, they'll choose the bad girl. It's like if she just does this, this, and this, she'll be a great wife. I'm like, she already sounds like the wrong woman. Why does she need to change all these things for you to choose her when the right woman, the one you know is good for you, is right here standing in front of you, the one that will be a good wife, the one that will be a good mother, and you're gonna pick the bad girl? Yeah, but she's prettier or she's this and she's that. And then we had a conversation on Queen Talk. Um, and we asked, do men choose what they want or what they need? And that's the conversation we had. And it's like, we didn't have any gentlemen there. We had the camera guys and they were kind of chiming in, but a lot of guys were like, yeah, I'm going to pick the woman I want because I can always fix those little quirks about her, but I want the one that's pretty. I want the one I'm attracted to. When they have a woman that's like 85% what they need, but they'll pick the one they want that's maybe like 50% of what they actually need, but she's the one they want. And I know a lot of people don't like when I bring up the Bible, but I don't care because I'm a Christian. So that's the perspective I speak from. And my father used to always quote the scripture. I pulled it up. It's from Jeremiah 17:9. It's the heart is deceitful above all things, desperately wicked. Who could know it? So people always say, follow your heart. My father used to always tell us, don't follow your heart. You need to trust your gut. And a lot of times your gut is saying, this is not the right one. But you're like, but I want her. So yes, I think the wrong woman can make a man weak, but the right woman can build a man up and strengthen his goals, his value, everything he really needs. The right woman can do that for him. That's all I got.
All right, thank you for that. Luis, what are your thoughts about it? The women most men love becomes his weakness.
Yeah, I like what Kelly just ended with. Most men at first are attracted to love the wrong woman because they haven't really understood who they are and what is that attraction really look like. Is that true attraction or is it lust? And sometimes we tend to kind of conflate, the lustful attraction with the romantic attraction. And in some cases I kind of sit back and ask myself, like, who is really the type of women most men want, right? And is it sometimes what we see within our own immediate circle, or is it something that's always portrayed or marketed to us? Like, this is the vixen, this is the model, this sort of archetype of woman, right? And sort of, I find that most men instinctively like kind of revert back to the type of women that he's grown up around. Like the certain characteristics that the mom has or certain family members have, right? I think that those tend to be much more of the women that men kind of gravitate towards in the end. I think at first glance, it's always sort of the lustful, the eyeful, eye candy, as opposed to the one that really fits your heart and also is attached to your mind. I think far too often the idea of long term attention for short term retention sometimes gets missed because those types of men want those women, but sometimes they don't even understand that they want them for all the wrong reasons and they're not really going to fulfill them in the long term. So yeah, I think separating the two and understanding that perspective kind of brings everything a little bit more home.
All right. Let me go ahead and go to Fantasy Island Girl. What are your thoughts about it? The women most men love becomes his weakness.
So I wrote a couple of things down. So she shouldn't have to. She wouldn't have the opportunity to be somebody's weakness if they weren't in love with her, outside of somebody being extremely malicious and attacking them. So with that in mind, it makes sense that she would be the one that would be their biggest weakness, the one that they love the most. And I wanted to touch on what Kelly was saying when she was saying they always choose the bad girl over the good girl, basically. And I think excitement does matter in these situations. Like, the first thing a man looks for, like the first thing that catches a man's attention is your looks most of the time. So we can't really say that he's looking for the 20% that he's lacking when the first thing they do is notice the looks. He's not going to notice you. So he's not going to know that you're that wonderful because he didn't notice you initially. That's just where my mind immediately went. But I may be completely off, but that's where I went.
All right. Brother Hink, the women most men love becomes his weakness. What are your thoughts about it, sir?
I agree with Joy on that last part. She said that her mind is completely off. I agree with that. So shout out to you, Joy.
Don't start this shit, Hink.
So when we say women, yeah, we do. We'll choose a nice juicy ass, maybe juicy breasts. We'll choose her looks.
What?
Pretty smile. We'll choose that, and then we'll think we're in love with her. Her personality's all right with us, but we see the red flags and we just totally ignore them because we're enamored by her beauty, and we're getting mad compliments or mad looks coming our way because of the attention that she brings. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden we are in different circles because of her. But all the while, you ignore them red flags and they start to build up and they really start to show when you've been with her for a little while and you probably should have left her ass at the goddamn restaurant, but you chose to continue to roll with her. And unfortunately we suffer. You know, it may take about 4 or 5 years down the road before we start to realize, but then we suffer. So I tell men all the time, man, don't just go about a woman's looks, man. If she can't hold a conversation, why are you dealing with a heifer? If you at a restaurant and she's arguing about the order being wrong or mistaken, and it's not even her order, it's not even her food, but it's your food, and she's fighting, ready to, step outside. Yeah, leave her right then and there. You can have nothing to do with this heifer. Please, guys, pay attention to the red flags that you are seeing. Please don't ignore them, because it's going to cost you in the end. And that orgasm she gave you, it's not worth it. Get your damn bottle of Jergens and give your own self a good orgasm, then deal with them goddamn headaches then this heifer's going to bring to you.
Well, what it tends to seem, Hank, is that in the beginning, most men collect a lot of red flags as opposed to collecting a lot of intel and detail about the woman, and sort of like you will look past those red flags because they're like, I can work through it. Oh, like we could talk about that. That doesn't really matter too much. But I think after a while, you'll find yourself with a stack of red flags, holding it and wondering to yourself, how the hell did I get to this point?
Lou, there's only two things.
You guys always associate
hold on, Joy. Just men talk. Mike, let these men talk, Joy. Sit back and listen. The only two things a man should get a fixer-upper is a house and a car. The hell with to get a fixer-upper woman. I'm not fixing a woman up for shit. You better be ready-made when you come his way. You got to be ready-made. I'm not fixing shit. You better get yourself together before you come in my presence, and I'm gonna bless you with my last name.
Fantasy Island. It's not that men associate red flags with pretty women. It's that we understand that women are not a monolith, right? Women are not a monolith, and we fully understand that. But unfortunately, I think that some people get themselves, get their head way too far into the clouds, and they start to ignore their intuition and start to ignore their gut and being like, look, that's a non-negotiable for me, or yeah, that's a red flag. But it's not because they're attractive. It's just that, in the beginning, we are very much attracted, and then we try to filter out. You ever seen a guy who has like that woman who's bad in every way, and then he's trying to change her, like, dress this way, do this less, and stuff like that? You already knew what you were signing up for. You know what I'm saying? The details said, everything including whatever her personality and attitude was, and then they tend to have buyer's remorse and trying to change and implement and say input like all these restrictions. You should have had that from the beginning. If you say you don't like disrespectful women, you got to be like, hey, look, You could do and say whatever you want, but I personally don't date women who are disrespectful. I don't date women who move this particular type of way, and you let that be known. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, place your boundaries. Like I said, it was a different show. You have to place your boundaries, and you have to let women know our boundaries, because if nobody's given us boundaries, we don't have any. We don't know what yours are. So my man, like I said before, this is the first time I've had somebody give me boundaries, and I love it. Like, I'm quick to be like, oh yes sir, okay, I'm fine with that, okay. But
But see,
or even if
Yeah,
it's
but
something I really want to do, I'm like, oh, but it's still the excitement of like, oh, he doesn't want me to do this. He's actually giving me this challenge of fulfilling this requirement. I could do this. I want to show him. And I think it's better than me just being able to do la la la, whatever I want, and think it's going to be fine.
but see, that's a problem. Some of us men wasn't really taught, wasn't educated, didn't learn from an elder man. Unfortunately, we either was hard headed, didn't want to pay attention. OG, you don't know what you're talking about, or you just being extra. You just saying it because you had to deal with it. Hey man, that OG's probably telling you shit he went through, not only went through, but he done seen and lived. But yet a lot of these young cats ain't not listen to it, so they got to live and learn themselves. So be it. So be it. If that's what it takes for them to take that L, then take that L. But a guy will look past them red flags because of your beauty. He will look at your beauty alone and look past that you're argumentative. He will look at your beauty alone and look past that you can't cook a goddamn meal, you can't boil water. He will look past that. And it's just unfortunate, but that's how we do sometimes.
Yeah, Fantasy Island Girls spoke about boundaries, and Higgs spoke to the concessions people make for attractive people. So it's just, I think, a matter of a lot of times people not having or knowing what their boundaries are. And so they're adjustable from person to person. So like then they end up resenting the person because they overlooked certain traits because they didn't have those solid boundaries set in the first place. Later on down the line, when they start to realize that they're not that cute when you're mad at them, or that their breath stinks in the morning, So I just, when it's like that, the boundaries is a very important part of it. But again, a lot of people don't even know what their hard no's are because they're so willing to make adjustments based on how attractive they are to a person.
But Precious got a connection. Let's see both of y'all come off the mic.
Oh, I was just gonna say, just like you don't want an adjustable, rate on your home, you don't want an adjustable boundary rate on your relationships or on yourself, really. And that starts with self. If you don't have boundaries with yourself, you're not going to have boundaries with someone else, or someone is going to be able to, cross that line every single time because you don't have that self-discipline and you're not practicing it. And that's important. It's important to practice those boundaries. It's important to say no to yourself and to other people. But we have to do that with ourselves first. And like Fantasy Island Girl said, the person that you're with now is giving you boundaries. Well, what happens? One boundary I think that is always crossed with some woman is the time boundary. Like you're always late, right? You're always, you don't want to be on time, always late. And boundaries like that is, even things like that have to close the gap in on, because just because it's acceptable, in the beginning, that's not something that someone's going to always deal with. Nobody wants to always deal with someone who is late, and you shouldn't. That means that you have poor time management. So that's one thing that's a common thing, especially with women, that it's like that's a boundary that most men should set. I mean, that's a boundary you should set for yourself. Like I said, it's time management, but that's one thing that I think men will, let slide, and then that little thing slide, and then you start doing something else, and so those boundaries, especially for men. Women, a lot of women don't, stick to their boundaries, but for men, attractive, mediocre, whatever you want to call her, a 4, a 5, a 7, a 8, the boundaries, you have to stick to it, because a woman will see you sticking to your boundaries and say, I can't try him. I can't try him. He's sticking to his boundaries. If I do this, I know that this is what the result is going to be. So I'm not even going to try him.
I was late to my first date and he was very upset. He was like, I feel like you disrespected my time.
Girl,
and I
how
was
you
like,
gonna
what?
be late to the first date and then gonna
I'm
say
late.
what?
But you guys, look, I was late all the time. I was always late. So it was never an issue. So I was like, well, I'm always late. And he was like, and I've always called you out because we knew each other from work. So I was like, but I'm always late. And he was like, and I've always called you out. He's like, but I didn't know you would do that to me if I decided to take you out. And I was like, I wasn't trying to be rude to you. I just don't consider time a very significant thing for me to focus on. And he was like, it is for me. So wait, listen. So he said, it is for me. So I was like, okay, I will not be late for you anymore. And it started becoming a thing that I made sure I was on time for him. I was very proud every time he had something planned for me. I'm on time. I'm on time. I'm on time. It's still not a priority for me, but I know it is for him. So I want him to know that I respect his time and he thinks that it's very significant. So it's significant for when we're doing things together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he you know what he should have did? As soon as you sat down, he should have got up and left your ass at a goddamn restaurant. That's what you
I know you would have
deserve.
done that, Hank.
You damn right. I would have got me a water to go and got the hell up out.
You should have took gold water.
Water to go.
But he came to pick me
How
up
late
and
were
he
you?
was down there waiting. So he was
Let me get
upset
that water
because
in
he
the
was like,
slippy
I'm
cup.
downstairs and I wasn't ready.
How late were you?
I was late, you guys. I don't want to tell y'all
Nah,
how late
you
I
need
was.
to tell us.
It's good. Come
How
on,
many
man.
minutos?
I need to know how late.
Humor,
10 minutes,
humorous.
I
She's at
wouldn't
least a
have
half
never
hour
known.
late.
I wouldn't have been there.
Okay. It was over 15 minutes.
Yeah, whatever. Come on, man.
Man, that sounds
Keep it up,
super.
Jordan.
Over
Keep it up.
15
All
minutes
right,
could be an
Over
hour.
15 minutes.
I mean, 15 minutes is unacceptable, but I thought it was more. I thought you was gonna
Oh,
say
no,
like
no, no,
40
no,
It
no.
is.
It wasn't
You just
like
you not telling you.
You said
hours or
over
30
50 minutes.
Right.
Hey,
It wasn't like
hey,
5
she
minutes.
not telling you shit like they tell her body count. Don't
So
believe that.
listen, I'm in the military, so you have to be 5 minutes early to places. I'm never 5 minutes early. So me being 15 minutes late, I'm like, oof, I'm late. And he was mad. He was very disappointed in me. But
Well, Fantasy
I'm
Island. The thing about this is the thing about being on time and being late. If I tell you to be somewhere at 7:30 and you're there at 7:30, you are officially late because you should be there a little bit early. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I say that is because you depend on a man, or fuck, you depend on on your man or on people to be there in the most crucial moments for you. So imagine if somebody who you needed, right, decided, I'm gonna take my time. I'm gonna get there when I get there. I'm gonna finish doing this, right? That also translates in other sectors of your life. You know what I'm saying? You ever see moms who just forget to pick up their kids? You know what I'm saying? You ever see, men who don't show up on time to that interview? Like these things translate and show up in other facets of our lives, right? And sort of us having boundaries, non-negotiable boundaries, and understanding that our time is valuable and that we're prepared and ready. You want that to show up, and sort of you only get one first time impression onto someone for the first time. You don't get a second take or redo. You know what I'm saying? And sort of that's why it's important to show up like prepared, ready, you know what I'm saying? And that you're engaged, right? You just showing up 15, 20 minutes like, look, I get it. Like life happens sometimes, there was an accident, something, but I think it's just as important to communicate that, especially if you're going to be late and kind of based on the story, I don't think you did.
it
But
wasn't even that. Nothing bad happened. I just wasn't planning ahead because I was
Did you
like, he
call?
knows that I'm
Did you
always
text?
late. So I didn't think it was a priority for him.
So you didn't
because
call
he
or text the
wanted to take
man?
me out because I'm always late.
Did you call or text the man?
Well, he was texting me that the whole time. He was like, oh, I'm downstairs, because we had already been texting. We had already been getting to know each other. This was just our first date. So he was like, oh, I'm downstairs. And I was like, okay, I'm almost ready. And I was almost ready, but not ready enough. I should have been
So
ready.
he came and picked you up.
Yeah, he came to pick me up and he was
God
downstairs
damn.
waiting.
But
He's
also
downstairs
too,
This man
waiting.
sitting in your
but
house,
also
he,
finish
or
the dialogue.
your apartment, wherever you
That
at,
would have been
and he
living.
waiting on you to come downstairs.
I know now that that was wrong. And I am not late, you guys, but I didn't
I
make
find
it
that
a
hard to
big
believe.
deal.
But
Can I
finish
say
the dialogue.
something?
And
Can you hear me
he
now?
I
actually
don't know how you made
compliments
a
me
second
when
date.
we have our dates and I'm on time. He compliments me because he knows I'm usually still not on time to things. I'm just
So
not.
he's got to continue to baby your ass
Can I
by
He
giving you
likes
silly
to
ass
compliment
compliments for
me
being
when
on
I'm
time.
working on
can
something
I
that's
say
not for
something?
me, it's for him.
Jesus
Can I say
Christ.
something? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So I actually like the way he handled it. Hink said he would have left you at the restaurant. I think that's the wrong way to handle it because,
Yeah.
like Fantasy Island girl, maybe he may not have cared about time either. So he's like, because some guys will be like, "It's cool, take your time whenever you're ready. I'm here." Some guys do not feel that way, but what I like to explain, boundaries are invisible. People don't know you have them unless you verbally express that. So the fact that he said, "Hey, I don't like when you're late," and she made the adjustments, I think that's where the communication adulthood comes in. If you just leave her at the restaurant, you leave, she doesn't even know why you're mad, she can't correct it. If you tell her, "This is my issue, can you please not do this anymore," and she does it, then it's no longer a problem. If she continues to disrespect your boundary, that's when she got to go. That's when you leave her at the restaurant, or no longer invite her, or don't pick her up. But you can't just leave deuces with my to-go cup of water because she didn't even know why are you mad? I'm always late. To her, it's not a big deal, but to you it is. So you just gotta tell her that. And if she fixes the problem, then it's no longer an issue. In my
Well, okay, look, I got
And
two
when he
red
calls
flags
me
right
out
there.
at work,
Hold on,
he
That's
fam.
already a
always
big
Two red
laughs.
problem.
flags
That's
right
already
there
a
and
big
there.
problem that a
So
grown woman
So
don't
it's
know
always
that
a
she
first
joke
of
can
all,
at the
be
office.
manipulated.
So I
if
just
she's
wanted
No,
to
I'm
late,
not.
share
No,
that.
everybody's talking. I
I'm
can't
Mike.
hear nobody.
Mike, they can't
so,
hear.
so there's two red flags right there and there. First of all, she's late, right? That's one red flag. And then she's dumb. If she don't know why I left her ass at a goddamn restaurant, knowing she's over 25 minutes late, I don't need her ignorant ass any goddamn way.
But
Listen,
if
if
you
you're
would have had that
texting me, you
mindset,
know
you
where
would have
I
never
am and
gotten
I
married
know where
to
you
her.
are.
You would
So
have never
why
got
would you
married.
leave before I can get there? What if the
My
traffic
ex-wife
is
wasn't
really
on time.
bad?
I mean,
You're just gonna
wasn't late.
leave?
My ex-wife wasn't late. We that was one of our connecting points. Always on time. I got there 15 minutes early. She got there 10 minutes before I did. So hey,
Yeah.
I'm not with that
I would
being
never
late to
be
events.
that early.
Matter of fact,
That's
I tell you, let me give you a story like Fantasy gave. I canceled going to an event because the lady I was with was late. No, we're not going any goddamn where. I'm not going.
Did she know that was important to you? Like that
Yes,
was
she
I
knew.
told her I don't like to
Oh,
be late to events.
some
I
people
said,
believe in driving, like they want to do like that. Oh, what is it like fashionably late? Like if it starts at 8, you show up at 8:30 so you can
oh
walk in
no,
and be
yeah,
like,
black
voila,
people,
I'm here. Like they
black
don't
people do that shit.
hi, you're still setting up. I'm here with my champagne. You guys
Black
need help?
people do that dumb shit. That's dumb shit. That's dumb shit.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say,
That should be a conversation though.
yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and
Why
say,
is lateness
while
such a
I
big
understand that
conversation?
as adults, certain things should be self-explanatory. Some people just don't have either the patience or the emotional intelligence to have those conversations because there's sometimes a level of, okay, first of all, what I will say is that some people look at you being late as a sign of disrespect. And honestly, respect, you can understand that, understandably so. If you guys make an agreement, you should stick to the agreement. A set time is a set time. If you're already late, you're already breaking agreements. That's not a good sign. It just doesn't bode well. So that's understandable. But the other side of that is being able to compose yourself enough to tell somebody like, look, even if you decide to take your to-go order and leave, onto my cheese and I don't want to have a conversation with you thing, you should be able to at least say like, like this is what happened, I'm good on you, or whatever it is. Like it's necessary to have those conversations because then it's just you're operating in ego at that point. You feel a certain type of way and you're not expressing it, and no one really benefits from that sort of exchange.
I
Yeah, but
just
I
want to
agree with what Lou was saying though. It affects other parts of your life. You're gonna be late paying your bills. You're gonna be late to this, late to that, late to work all the time. Yeah, I can't deal with that, man.
But I'm saying,
I
like,
know.
truthfully,
And
I
I
understand.
yeah. Go ahead,
Truthfully, I
sir.
understand that certain people, it's never been addressed to them. Some people have skated through their whole lives not being corrected, or not being, they've probably had more people leave their ass at the restaurant and was like, oh damn, the nigga left and he ordered a water. That's happened a lot. A lot of people skate through life. You got motherfuckers in their 40s who can't read. Like literally, I look on some panels and I'd be like, damn, or I watch people like actually reading something. I'm like, yo, he can't read. What's going on here? It's never been addressed. Nobody cared enough to say, yo, read this book, articulate these words, figure this out. If a person can't read and that's skated through there to the point where they're 40 years old, you think other things weren't just, pushed to the wayside? So the adult thing to do, I agree, is to correct them. And then if they don't make those corrections and they want to be a part of your life, then you let them go.
Yeah.
The bad part about it, she couldn't get past the first date and doing it. I mean, you already made a question.
And I've been late to first dates. I've been late to probably every first date, to be honest, you guys. But no one has ever left me. I've never had anyone like walk out and
Girl,
not
you must
wanna
have had a
leave it.
happy endings on them.
And,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
no,
she
but
did.
listen, even when I show up and I'm late, I'm always like, I'm sorry I'm late. It's like if they look mad, I'm like, I'm sorry I'm late. And then we talk, and then by the end of the night, they're fine. We're fine, and it's not a problem.
I do.
Is that something that you worked on now? Like, or is that something that
Yes, that's what I'm saying. If I wouldn't have had him, I would have never worked on that because it's never been a problem. I've always said the same thing. I've always gotten the same results. So I'm not going to change, honestly, you guys, unless somebody says, hey, you can't do this. I'm like, oh, why not?
Like, I think that
boundaries taught you a life lesson. And I think that that's what boundaries do for people sometimes.
But it's a
Some
communicative.
people don't pick up on social cues like you guys think they do.
Hey, JR's trying to say something, guys.
It's okay, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear you, brother. I'm here for you, brother. I'm here for you.
I know that people used to me not saying anything, so I guess it's just kind of playing into the. No, but anyhow, I think that plays into what we're saying as far as with the topic, as far as like the women most men love becomes his weakness. If a man, if that is a boundary for a man and he allows that, then that could later become a weakness for him. That's him not, which leads me to the point that I was gonna make in this whole thing. The main thing to focus on is most and men. We're talking about men and we're talking about most men. This is based off my experience. I do agree to the statement that the women most men love becomes his weakness. I think that when you vet someone, you should vet them before. And a lot of men don't vet women before they hop into a relationship or they establish it as a relationship. But I also think that you should vet throughout the relationship until marriage. Once it becomes marriage, then I think the vetting is really off, and then it's just you guys working through and solving through your day-to-day issues, which is a lifetime commitment. So I think most men just don't vet properly. And when you don't vet properly, you typically will ignore the signs depending on the woman. So Fantasy Island girl, on most of her dates, she might have been an attractive woman to that man. And so he may chose at that moment to overlook it. It's fine. It's okay. Even though deep down, he may not have viewed it that way. And depending on how good a flow the conversation was going, he may just have forgotten about it. And it keeps happening. But she had already got him already. She had already got him on that first date, whatever it may have been. So that's just my take on that. Anything else I want to say with that? Yeah. It just all depends on the woman. Just all depends on the woman. I think certain women do get away with a lot more, and then some women can't get away with anything. But a man who has boundaries and who has standards and a man of integrity, he's not going to fall for anything. So I can't respect what Hink is saying is that he just won't deal with it. And you got to appreciate certain type of people that stand for something and not willing to give people grace to what they believe. But on the flip side, I understand what Jay's saying is that some people may not have learned it. To Hink, he might respond and say, well, that's their fault that they didn't learn it. I learned it, and this is what I want in my household. So it's going to be situational as far as how people handle it. But I do see both sides of it.
The problem with Hink's method is people are not mind readers. And something might bother you. And if they don't know what it is, they can't even correct it. You might say, hey, I don't like when you're late. And they were like, oh, I didn't know this was a problem because maybe their mom was late and their dad was late and they were late to class and the teacher never said anything and they were late to work and their boss let it slide. So if that continues and you don't know it's a problem and then you just get up and walk away, you could be that person that teaches them that life lesson. But you just get up and walk away, you don't say anything. If you were just like, listen, I value my time. I feel like you disrespected it. You were late, so I'm out. They might be like, oh, this is a problem. And then they can fix it moving forward. Maybe the next guy will benefit off of the lesson you taught her, but you just leave. I feel like that's where Black people miss it. Like you can't communicate. You just get mad and walk away with your water. Like, how are we going to have a successful relationship? I mean, stuff is going to come up in your marriage and she doesn't even know what's bothering you because you didn't tell her. She's like, oh, this is regretful, but I didn't.
They don't tell you.
Why you apologize then? Then why'd you apologize then?
I apologize because
no, I'm not talking. I'm not talking. Joy, I'm not talking to you, Joy.
Oh.
I'm talking to Kelly. Then why do they apologize then?
I don't apologize.
So you don't apologize for being late?
No. I like to be fashionably late. I don't show up. I'm not the person at the party that's like, hi, I'm here 5 minutes early. Can I help you set up and blow balloons? No, I'm going to show up at 8:30. If your party starts at 8, I'm going to be there at 8:30 because everybody's already going to be there. You get to see me walk in with my outfit. That's just how I think. Right? I'm not going to be like, hi, we're here. Oh, no one else is here. We'll just sit on the sofa and wait for everybody else to come.
And Kelly, I feel we're conflating. That's disrespectful. That is totally disrespectful to the man.
If it's a reservation, yes, I'm there. If it's a movie, I'm there. If it's a time, I have to be. But if it's an event, I'm not going to show. If the event starts at 7:30, I'm going to be there at 8.
Right. My man wants to be on time. He wants to be early to the event, every event. But
so
I never respect that
man's most men don't stay the whole event. That's why.
They want to get in, get out.
Y'all want to shut the party down. Y'all want to shut the club down.
That's character syndrome. Y'all know that, right?
Maybe, but I just I don't know what it is. I just know that's what I have.
Syndrome.
Those are two different. Those are two different.
Character.
You got it, Lewis.
You said main character.
Main character syndrome. You
like you're the star of the show.
The star of the show.
Yeah.
At least y'all think y'all are.
Tennessee girl say yeah.
I've always been told that. I've always been told that I'm
gotta feel like the star.
And that's why you never got a leader like Hink in your life, Joy. You always gonna be suffering with them Charlies. You get a man like me, he not talking about that late shit. I'm not going for that. I'm late. I'm gonna be fast late. Bring your late ass on up in here. We not going fast and late. We gonna be the first one in the building, and we gonna show. I'm gonna show out and show up. I'm telling you. That's how we do. It doesn't matter for a long time. They gonna see me regardless because they gonna see. Damn,
I got a question.
Hold on before you ask your question. I did want to add to this. I don't think y'all can really be upset at Hink because you got to think about some of the boundaries and standards that men and women have in relationships, right? And I give you an example. Like one of the things that I wasn't willing to do when I was dating someone is that they wanted me to understand what they've gone through all their life. And at the time, I was just like, look, I'm not trying to be a therapist. I'm not trying to understand you. I need you to come already together because that's just more work for me. If a woman has not, if she don't understand how finances work, that man may not be willing to want to, because it's like having another child. If you already got children and you have an adult that acts like a child, then it's like some men or women may not be willing to want to have to carry that burden. So you have to understand that if it's a standard that Hink has, you can't be made. You have to be understanding that and just respect it. Either you're gonna deal with it or you're not gonna deal with it. But I don't think it's unreasonable if his time is worth more than how that person may see it.
I'm not mad at Hink for his standard.
I'm not saying
that. The fact that he wouldn't explain it. If he leaves and explains it, I'm cool with his standard. It's just
exactly
how do people know what you're upset about if you don't tell them? That's
especially if everybody's been fine. It's always been a joke. Like Joy's gonna show up eventually. Oh, Fantasy's gonna show up eventually. And she's gonna look so cute. And now it's like I'm gonna be there on time with my man because he don't play that. But I'm still gonna look cute, you guys.
But that's a lack of respect for that man. That is a lack of respect for that man. And see, that's again, women, they don't give a shit about our black asses. They don't even respect you enough to be on time.
What's going
on? The hell with you. I get there when I get there. And you better be okay with when I get there. Because if you ain't, you kiss my ass.
Well, she's not. I don't think she's married to a black ass person.
Sheesh.
You said
No,
what? I'm
I
sorry.
don't. I'm not married, but my man is white.
I was like, I don't think she's. Oh, with a black ass man.
I didn't say what color. When I said that men don't give a shit about us men, I didn't say what the certain color. A white man, they don't give a shit about you. Black men, they don't give a shit about you. Asian, Cuban, whatever. I said men, they don't give a shit about you. That's what I said.
That's not true. But I have a question. That's not true. That's not true. But I have a question. So what if the man is late? Do you leave him? Do you leave him if he's late?
Who's that?
If you're with a man that's late, do you leave him?
I'm not gonna be with a man.
Okay,
Are we supposed to leave him?
For the women that are dating men, should they leave him? Like, you know what, my husband's all late. I'm gonna divorce him because he's always late. Is that okay?
Well, is he your husband or is this a
Yeah.
If it's a first date and he's late, should I leave?
It could be
You
anything.
should.
If
If
you're
you
with
have
a man that's
boundaries,
habitually late, an hour late.
If you have boundaries,
have
why
every
wouldn't
right
you
to.
enforce your boundaries? If he's late and you don't like someone to be late, you should leave. It's simple. This isn't a man or woman thing. This is a I have boundaries.
And moral and
Everyone should have boundaries. So if he's late, then that means he may be late for the next date. You just leave.
So, Fantasy, let me ask you a quick question and keep it real with us.
Okay.
During any of these dates, were you on your phone for more than 15 seconds at a time?
No, I always have my phone down when I'm on the date because I want to pay attention. I don't have much time, like outside of the house. So I'm always finding something to do in the house. That's why I'm always late. I'm always doing something, working on some project to make my house feel prettier, make me feel cozier because I'm always home with my kids now, right? But when I do go out, I don't try to make it seem like, I don't know.
You still didn't tell us how late you was. You just said over 15 minutes.
I was
know exactly
15 minutes late. I was like 17 minutes,
okay.
not like
What?
late, but I was late. And it's never been a problem, honestly, you guys. And I'm not trying to say it like that. Like,
well, it's probably a problem. He just didn't. Most of them didn't say because they was gonna get them cheeks. They knew you was gonna top them off after the date.
Right.
So yeah, they probably didn't say nothing.
But I'm not gonna know if you laugh it off. I'm gonna think you're just joking with me. I really am. I'm gonna think you're just playing with me. So if you're laughing and you're like, oh, you late, or oh, you must be always fashionably late, and I'm like, yeah, I am.
Let me tell you what that man was thinking through his hair. He was thinking about pulling your hair as he hit you from the back, doggy style. Don't worry about it. I'm a dog on your ass when I get you to bed.
This is a family show on Sundays.
I think all of y'all are capped. Every single person on the panel is capped. I think if you want somebody enough, you will stay, whether they're late or on time or early. All of y'all are capped, and I'm about to prove y'all all wrong now.
If we married and he's a little late, then
my ladies
I get raised.
I'll tell you what, I'm about to prove you wrong right now.
Yeah.
The show was supposed to start at 12:15.
You said what?
You heard what she
The
said.
show was start at 12:15.
It's not my fault.
I was there.
But y'all saying y'all
But you wouldn't leave. You don't
my
leave
time
for
is
this.
valuable. I'm out. The show started late.
You didn't leave.
What are you talking about? What's
So
that got
why
to do
is there
with?
grace for the show being late, but there's no grace for the
Again,
person you say
the thing
you
said
want
the show starts at 1:30. Now, if it's late because of that, it is what it is. My ladies in chat, I don't accept that. I don't accept that bullshit.
Right? So
Nah.
JR, you dead wrong for having this goddamn show. Okay, don't worry about it. I'm gonna hold JR accountable then. JR, you dead wrong for being late. You are dead wrong, and I'm out.
It's agreed upon ahead of time.
You expressed it to him. You expressed it to him, and now he knows. See?
Hey, so
Hey,
I think that's a nice transition, y'all, because we've been spent. We got to still unpack this video, but I think the common courtesy, which a lot of folks don't do, is they're not real with their time. I think if you communicate, because sometimes things happen. I did see in the chat where like it may be an accident, something crazy just happened. At least give that man or woman that courtesy call to at least kind of soften it, because you never know what somebody may be thinking. So I think that is kind of like a good takeaway to do. Hank, if somebody calls you and say, "Hey, there was an accident. I'm gonna probably be like another 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes later. Are you cool with that? Or is that still like a non-negotiable for you? Just curious.
If you give me a courtesy call, let me know you're going to be a little bit late. I'm okay with that. But the
Okay.
fact that she was downstairs and she was texting a man while she's upstairs instead of actually coming downstairs and say, baby, give me a few more minutes. That's trifling to me. It's trifling you're lazy.
Yeah.
I was coming. All right, whatever. Moving on.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. We do got one super chat came through from Dame Smith 199 says it took a man for you to value time, double standards. I appreciate
I still
that.
don't.
Let's hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you missed it in the beginning, I did play a video clip from Sir Hale and Bruiser where they talked about should a man marry a woman for her love or for her service. So we're just unpacking it right now. And I am highlighting some of the points that Sir Hale made throughout the broadcast. The next one is the idea of love for men unrealistic? Is the idea of love for men unrealistic? We'll start with you, Jay. You guys understand the question?
Is the idea of love for men unrealistic, like being loved by someone? Is that unrealistic?
That's how I took it.
Let me see if
Somebody
I can
loving a man.
Let me see if I can come through it right quick.
Yeah, we had so many in between conversations. I don't even remember the video.
It was right at the beginning.
Promote marriage, we promote relationships for men. That's what we're about. We think that it's the backbone of our society, so on and so forth. But is it unrealistic for men to marry for the idea of love? And I ask this because women become men's weakness. The woman most men love becomes his weakness. It's what you alluded to earlier. Tyrese saying that he still loves this woman who.
You guys get the context?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead, Jay. What are your thoughts about it? Is the idea of love for men unrealistic?
With a man loving someone, no, I don't think it's unrealistic. For someone loving a man, I think you shouldn't put your stock into it because it's conditional. You know what I mean? A lot of times nowadays it's conditional. If the conditions are based on providing and being, whatever standards she has set, if you can't meet those conditions, then that love is going to be tainted. It's going to be modified based upon what you're doing for them. And I'm speaking currently. If you're putting your stock into somebody loving you for the rest of your life in the same way unconditionally, then that's unrealistic to me.
Anybody else want to chime in on this question? Is the idea of love for men unrealistic?
I don't necessarily think it's unrealistic. So he said in the video, Sir Hill said in the video, women are looking for help instead of looking to help. So I think the only way that a man is really going to get real love is if a woman is dedicated to helping him and not looking for help. Because if she's looking for help, idealistically, she's not going to love him for him. She's going to love him for his resources. But if she's looking to help him, then he'll be able to get that love because it'll be a yin and yang type of effect. And it's almost like in the Christian sector, they always say, seek ye the kingdom first, and all these things will be added to you. And when you're in a marriage, you have to seek, his highest regard. You seek what he's seeking, and all things will be added to you. But I don't think a lot of people have that outlook or that mental picture on what marriage is. A lot of people are seeking, the material things, and so you're not going to get real love from that. You're not going to get real love from that. So I think if you're truly, wanting to be in love and have real love, you have to seek someone who is going to, put your greatest good as priority.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
So I think this is kind of contradictory to the points that you guys usually speak on. I think so. To answer the question, is the idea of love for men unrealistic? I think the movie love is that idea. I think that's unrealistic because that's not real love. And I always go from the biblical standpoint, obviously. And men do not value love as much as women do. Men value respect over love. That ushy gushy, kissy kissy, cuddle up and stare at each other type of love. That's not really what men crave. They crave respect. The Bible says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church, and wives, respect your husbands. They never told wives to love their husbands. It said, wives, respect your husbands. That's what they need more than love. So the idea of love for a man, it sounds beautiful, it's cute for a movie, but that's not really what they need. In the household, they want to be respected. And if you ask a man, you can ask the men on the panel, if you prefer your wife to love you or respect you, they would 9 times out of 10 say they would prefer the respect over the love. So that's one. And I think it's contradictory to say that you want a woman that doesn't need your resources, but a lot of the men, especially in this space, talk about getting a young woman that doesn't have a career, doesn't have a job, hasn't gone through college, get her fresh and young, straight out of high school or whatever. But like, that woman's going to need you. She's going to need things from you. If you have a woman that's established, that sees your goal, your vision, your drive, your passion, and she comes with you and works alongside you to help you achieve your goals and your purpose, I think that woman is going to be more beneficial to your life than the woman that's like, hi, I don't know anything. I'm ready to be taught and learn from the master. She's going to need you. She needs everything you have, your knowledge, your money, your housing, like everything. So to have a woman that doesn't really need your resources, you're going to need to pick a woman that's established already for that.
So you said a few things that like majority I agreed with. I appreciated that share. You said ask a man if he prefer his partner love him or respect him, he'll choose respect, which is true, but they'll still go looking for the love elsewhere. Like it's just gonna happen. And then Jay said everything's conditional. So I think you were kind of leaning toward it being unrealistic for a man to marry for love, right? I don't want to be incorrect by saying that.
Yeah, to expect it, long term for it to remain the same.
Right.
It's
so
unrealistic.
I feel like everything is conditional. And I think that's why it's important for you, if you are going to go into a relationship, for you to approach it from a stance of selflessness, both men and women, and having like a sense of duty and being able to discipline yourself. That's why the whole time thing was also something. That's why, I said that's a form of respect. Like you show respect in so many ways. But for my answer, I'm gonna say no. I don't think it's unrealistic for men to marry for the idea of love. I feel like love is valid. It's an important reason to get married. Like it's obviously, there are practical considerations like compatibility, goals, mutual respect, and like all those other things that are also important. I feel like love definitely shouldn't be disregarded, even if it's seen as unrealistic, because you'll end up in an unfulfilling marriage, which most men end up in if they are only in it opportunistically and not for love, because that's how like the resentment and the disconnects and the communication breakdowns happen. I feel like when love is missing from a relationship, there's no compassion there, there's no empathy. So that humane side of the connection is lacking, and that's what has people going outside of their relationship. There's no way to have a happy, fulfilling marriage without there being love present. So I don't think it's unrealistic. In fact, I think it's important for men to marry for love too.
Well, the respect. So I know we talk about this, and Kelly kind of hit it too. Men do want respect. I think that a man will pick respect over love, but I also think and understand that none of you women will ever sleep with a man you don't respect, or be attached to a man that you don't respect. So therefore, I will conclude that, by a man receiving respect, that the love comes after as a byproduct of that. is attached, right? Because
Yeah, and
I'm
sorry.
yeah, go ahead, Tim.
No, I was just going to add on to that, because if a woman doesn't respect him, then he looks at that as disrespect, which is trump everything. So if he's not receiving that respect, love is not even in a conversation. But if she respects him, then he can start to look at some other things. But automatically, if she doesn't respect him, or if he's receiving disrespect, then he don't want to tolerate that. Most men.
Yeah, and that's why I made that linear comparison. I think that it comes as a byproduct, especially with time. Like we say, like, what is love, right? And it's like it's action plus time equals love. The consistency, how somebody shows up for you, and they keep they keep to their word in what they say that they're going to do in a relationship, and that over time you understand your person and get to know them even more and appreciate them, right? There is the level of respect is garnered because that's the foundation of it. The love aspect, is just becomes the connection that comes after.
All right. Anybody else want to add to this? Is the idea of
That's not love, and that's why people have so many problems. The definition of love is always being defined incorrectly. That's not love.
All right. Do you want to define what the definition is?
Everyone will have a different definition for real. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say not everybody's
I mean,
definition
if you
is
put
necessary.
100 people in a room and you ask them all individually, I promise you'll probably get 100 different answers.
And that's the problem, because if you look in the dictionary, there's usually a word, and that's the definition. Everyone has their own definition of what love is. So it's obviously it's hard to describe it because
people make definitions to everything these days. And even with that definition, I'm sorry. Even with that definition, there are so many different kinds of love, right? So there are different, there's levels to it, right? Like they say. So it's like, yeah, and the dictionary gets new words and new definitions every year. So I mean, there's that.
I mean, as long as the person who I'm with loves me in the way what I think love is, I'm good. It doesn't matter what nobody else's definition is or what they think it is. As long as she loves me the way I think love is, and that's all that matters.
Well, you got to be able to communicate that to her too, so she knows.
I do communicate. I know how to talk, Kelly.
Whoa, talking and communicating how what you feel love is different. There are different love languages. There are different definitions, like other people said. There are different types of love. She may think friendship love is the type of love that you want, but that's not what you feel. So I'm saying if you can communicate that to her,
I let it be known. I don't play around on the
that
people.
wasn't a jab. That was
no. I didn't take it as that, but I'm just saying I don't have no problem having tough conversations. I'm straight and direct. Sometimes too direct, but that's okay. That's just me. I don't have no problem with expressing how I feel, what I'm looking for, and my expectations, my standards. Because if I don't, she will get left at a restaurant. She will get left wherever she needs to get left. I don't deal with that bullshit, and no man should. As a prize as you men are, don't deal with bullshit. Keep it moving.
Yes, stay lonely.
I think it's unrealistic for you to expect for love to stay the same the way that somebody shows you love to stay the same throughout your entire relationship, because what you'll require to feel that love will change. Like when you need different things, like when you're old, you need your man to wipe your butt maybe because you're too old to do it, or wash your back in the shower because you can't do it. Things that I didn't need him to do before because I could obviously do them myself. But as we grow and I need these things from him, if he can provide those things for me and I can provide those things for him, I'm still showing him I'm loving him in a different way. I'm putting his ointment cream on when he's old, like, whatever he needs me to do, rubbing his feet when he needs because he's old. Like, I don't know, whatever the love action is for you, for me to show you that I love you, I'm still in love with you, you're so perfect. I want to give you those things regardless of where we are in our relationship, and it's going to look different.
But isn't like essentially love is duty, right?
Yes.
So whatever duties are called upon in the different stages of your life, I mean, I feel like that should be love, but some people
Yes.
are looking at love in terms of what somebody buys for me, how much time somebody spends with me, how much time, you know what I mean? I feel like love is duty because we're not going to be the same people, but along with those changes we go through, adjustments are made and duties are still there to be carried out.
Well, my definition of love is already written. It's already out there for those who would like to know what it is. And it is in the Bible. It is 1 Corinthians 13, 4-8.
Boom, that's what I
Love
was
is
talking about.
patient. It's kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It's not proud. It doesn't dishonor others. It's not self seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. It does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes, and it always perseveres. Love never fails. So if it goes against any of those things, then it's, to me, it's not love. But if it falls within those things, and love is patient. So it's like it's not necessarily a tangible thing. It's something. Did I have patience with him today? Because if I didn't show him love. I wasn't loving towards him.
Did I have patience when she was 5 minutes late to our date?
So,
No, but I don't love you. I don't love you on the first date, so it doesn't matter.
No, I'm saying if I'm late later, like I haven't been late now.
That's fine. You could be late, but I don't love you on the first date. I do not love you. I'm not in love because I don't know you.
Yeah, patience would be, I've gone on 5 dates with you and you're late 3 out of the 5 times. And so I don't know if I can love you, like Hank was saying. And I think it's a different type of patience too. I don't think it's like patience waiting for you on a date. I think it's a different type of patience, like in life or in love. How exactly are you being patient? Or if you don't get something that you want right away, how exactly are you waiting? Are you waiting impatiently? Or are you intentionally waiting and still doing the work that you need to do for that thing to come to you? So I don't think it's like literal patience waiting on you being late. I think it's an awareness to know that, if I'm short patience of something, then it's probably going to affect some things in my life other than love, and different things like that. So I think it's just an awareness and training your mind to know how you should treat things within a relationship and with yourself, right? We always talk about loving someone else. Are you patient with yourself? Are you proud? Are you a proud person? Do you have a big ego? Those things start with yourself before you can even try or even attempt to do it with somebody else.
I just had a question. Is there anybody on the panel that's not a Christian or goes by Christian beliefs?
I grew up Christian, but I'm spiritual. But not,
All right. What about you, Hank? Did you consider yourself a Christian?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I just recently heard that definition that the Real Precious read. I just kind of want to get your thoughts about how the Bible says what love is. You mind reading that again, Real Precious?
It's found in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4-8. And love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails.
Just want to get your immediate thoughts, Hank. I don't know if that's your first time hearing that, but what are your immediate thoughts when you heard that?
love is the most dutiful, selfless expression of compassion and understanding.
I misheard.
I was asking Hank, lady.
Hank, my bad.
Sorry, I forgive you. See, that's part of that love thing. Forgiveness and love and patience. I'm being understanding, just like what Real Precious read. So, what I thought about that was, yeah, I remember many of times presenting that, to my significant other, sharing it with her, and this is what I expect of you, and this is what you expect of me. As long as we can do that, we can work things out. But if we can't, more than likely you get left at a restaurant.
I hear that, y'all. Let's go ahead and move on to the other part of this. I know we got to unpack that. If you're just tuning in, hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Shout out to Sir Helen Bruiser again for the content for today, which is should a man marry a woman for her love or for her service? We are unpacking that 5-minute or so video. There are a few super chats that came through. Grizz Treats 199 is being on time for a first date, not common sense? ? Interracial relationship, sex, dating, and marriage. $5 says men are the only creatures that must earn conditional love, while women, children, and animals receive unconditional love until death without earning it. Ed Hill 499, also a member, says shout out to Mogulette and the Real Precious wearing that purple and gold Lakers. Peace. The Beast 199 says love is an action, not a feeling. I want to say thank you for the people that has donated to the platform thus far. We appreciate your donations. Hit that like button, family. Hit that like button. Let's go ahead and continue with the show.
Can I just say thank you to the Real Precious for reading that?
Yeah.
That's what I meant when I said that's not the definition. That actually is. So thank you.
Yeah, Carrie was the one that read it to me. I had no idea that existed in the Bible. So appreciate you with that one. Besides business, what's a good reason for a man to pursue marriage? This is what Sir Hale asked Bruiser. So I kind of want to get you guys' thoughts. Besides business, what's a good reason for a man to pursue marriage? I don't have to go around everybody, but if you do want to add something to it, then feel free to do so.
To get a help me. Help me for 200.
All right, help me for 200.
I would say legacy and children to continue to carry that last name, to really have a heart for those who come from you, your children, and give them opportunities that maybe you didn't have or opportunities that they just want to embark on. A lot of people try to control their children and make them be who they never were. But truly raising children and seeing them grow up and be who they're created to be is something that I believe that a lot of men take seriously and truly enjoy. So aside from the business, it's my family, my lineage, my legacy.
So I'm gonna say it depends on what he values, but I would say companionship and emotional support. I would say, of course, building a family and a legacy. I'd say having somebody to share like your goals and dreams with, and someone to create those things together with. And I'm gonna just say like protection from the BS that comes from being essentially just out in the world without someone to have your back. But like to have your person, it's a beautiful thing. It does provide like a level of protection. That women aren't the only ones that get like covered in a way by marriage. So that's what I think.
It's Kelly Connections. I seen somebody in the chat say that women love to use that help me, but can you mind break that down, what that means to you, or what your thoughts about it is, to expand on it a little bit more?
I love to. So I think that YouTube has minimized what marriage actually means in a lot of people, like contracts and business, transaction, all that. It's not really what it was initially intended for. The Bible says, because I always go back to the Bible, Genesis 2:18, the Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him. So the way it was described to me is helper. They always make it seem like, when it's discussed, people make it seem like it's like a little kid, like, oh, like I'm the teacher's helper. But it's more like the person that can assist, almost like a teammate. Like when you're tired and you tag them in, okay, I can't do it anymore. Can you go in and you help? So they're supposed to kind of stand in the gap to where you can't. They're supposed to be able to do everything that you can do and be able to assist when you're down. So when you say equally yoked, equal is not it's supposed to be two oxen that are tied together. It's not one weak one and one strong one. It's two equally strong ones, and they're helping each other with the load. So equally yoked doesn't mean I have a partner that can't do anything and I have to treat him like a child and come on, kids and wife. It's more like my wife is my go-to when I can't anymore. I have to tap out for a minute and take a rest, but the business is still going to go and continue because I married someone that's equally capable to handle it even without me. I'm out of the country and business is still running in the country because I chose a woman. And that's the thing, that helper that's suitable for him. Again, a lot of men don't choose the woman that they need. They choose the woman that they want. The big ass and big titties that make the red flags turn green and yellow is not the woman that you need that's going to help you run your company, help you be a good parent, mother your children the way you want, support your goals and your dreams and help you get to the next level. I heard a woman say, I don't care what my man does. If he what do you say? He said, if he works at Burger King, by the time we're finished, he's going to own some Burger Kings. So the right woman can help drive you and get you to where you need to be versus a woman that's always pulling and nagging and taking from you. She can pour into you as well. You're tired, honey, relax. I'll finish doing whatever you're finishing up. Just tag me in. I'm here to help whenever I can. And that woman is the woman men need to choose. But you choose the pretty girl with the big ass and the big titties that can twerk.
I appreciate that. Anybody else want to add on to besides business? What's a good reason for a man to pursue marriage?
There is none other than that.
I mean, excuse me. You know, everybody added a lot of great value. I would have said the same exact thing for all the reasonings why a man would want to pursue marriage. But I also think that on a larger scale, we don't have enough strong communities that are backed by strong families, right? Strong families build strong communities build strong nations. And unfortunately, we just don't have enough strong communities with the same core values, right? You used to know and understand who your neighbors were. You used to go to the same church or be part of the same sort of community efforts. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen often a lot. And a lot of people have today share different values or different, perspectives on marriage and on family. And sort of since the paradigm has shifted far, far farther from center, you know, we find ourselves asking like we always want to be in community, close to other strong families, right? Because those strong families who share the same type of value systems that we do, we also grow collectively, right? No man is an island, and unfortunately, um, as strong families grow and flourish, they also want to be around and also recruit other strong-minded families as well, right? Because without that, like it just it doesn't really produce. Like, I mean, just look at what's going on like online or on social media, like where you have young kids going into pharmacies and stealing candy, and you have other young people, going into department stores and taking products and goods, right? Where is the value system? Where is the community effort, or sort of where is that larger overreach that protects that protects us from falling off, right? That communal aspect is missing, and sort of I always go back to being attached to that because it creates. There's a loud noise.
Is that me?
It's better.
Yeah, I landed.
So I just wanted to touch on what you just said about the communal factor. I just saw this morning when I went outside on my balcony, this little boy, he was going out to take the trash out for his mom. He was very little, but he had to be older because he started throwing the trash up over the trash thing and he was screaming, "Suck my D, suck my D, suck my D," like out. And I was watching this little boy, and then his little brother comes and he starts throwing the trash in too. And he's missing the trash. Both of them are missing the trash. And it's funny. They're laughing and they run off, and the brother's still screaming, "Suck my D, suck my D." And the other little brother, he's just following behind him. And I was like, I want to say something to these kids, but I already know their mom is always snapping in the hallway. So I'm not saying a goddamn thing to her kids because I don't need her at my door saying anything to me. So I let this happen knowing that I would want somebody to stop my kids, but I absolutely will not say nothing to her because I know her energy that she's been given throughout the building, and it's not good energy.
You're gonna have to pray for her and them kids. Sometimes you can't talk to people about their kids nowadays, and that's the problem. Because back in the day, your parents knew what you was doing before you even got home from doing it.
Because the
Like
neighbors
now, back in the day, and then you'd be scared to come home. Nowadays, kids just do whatever they want, and they don't care if you tell their parents because their parents are allowing them to do it. They already got the go ahead from their parents. Who are you?
They probably heard it from their parents. They don't even be
heard it from, but I know that if their mom was there, they probably wouldn't be screaming that, but they were screaming it because they felt free outside and nobody was out there except for me. And they didn't see me out there looking at them, but I was watching them looking down like.
But they probably learned it from their parents. See,
oh yeah, probably.
A lot of times it's a parenting problem. It's usually a parenting problem when you see kids doing that. And even if they're not doing it around their parents, they've heard it around their parents. And so now that they're out of their parents' sight, it's like, ooh, let me test this new thing I heard. You know, you ever see those challenges where parents go, all right, I'm gonna allow you to curse. What you want to say? And they're already they don't have to think about it.
Words immediately.
They do not have to think about it. You
but
know,
when I took my daughter to the daycare. It's right here, right? So I took my kids go to their before and after care. These kids are always cursing up there. Now my little boy, when I went up there, I went up there on him. He's cursing. He's like, this. He said, "What the hell? What the hell?" He was just saying, "What the hell?" with all the other kids. And I was
how
like,
old is he?
JV 4. I was like, JV, why are you cursing? And he was like, he just looked so scared when he saw me. And I was just so shocked that my baby was up here cursing with these older kids. And I know that they're blended. So it's like, it starts at 5, it's supposed to, but they let me bring him in there at 4. And then it goes all the way up to 13. So from 5 to 13, there's teachers there, but they're not hovering over the kids. So the kids are out there playing and they're saying whatever they want to say. So I was just
but back to what Luis and Real Precious was saying, there is no community to correct them. So the teachers should be correcting them. When you go home, you corrected your son. Exactly. So he's not going to do it anymore. But those other kids go home, they're probably cursing with their parents. Their parents are probably cursing in front of them. So they can't say, "Don't you curse," because they're saying, "What the hell are you doing? What the F are you doing?" They're saying that to their kids. So they don't think anything's wrong with it. They're going to copy up what they see and what they hear. And if their parents aren't even correcting them, Luis talked about how kids are stealing now. I didn't steal or curse because I knew there was a consequence for it. My father taught me the biblical principles of why you shouldn't steal. Liars, stealers, they go to hell. They should have their place in the lake of fire. And I'm like, bro, I don't want to end up in the lake of fire because I wanted to steal or lie. I'm good on that. And I would see him act it out. Like I remember one time we went to the store and he forgot to check something out. He could have been like, "Oh, cool, we got an extra free pack of eggs or whatever." I don't know. He went back into the store and I saw the integrity of him rechecking it out. Like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I accidentally left and didn't pay for this." He went back and paid for it. And that spoke volumes to me. So now people think I'm crazy. I remember one time I was at the ATM machine and then accidentally shot out an extra 20. So I was like, "Hey, it gave me extra 20. How do I get this back?" And people were like, "You stupid girl, just put that in your pocket and get out of here." Like, that's not integrity. I'm not going to take this money because it doesn't belong to me. The till's going to end up short. Maybe somebody will get in trouble for what? Extra $20. And on top of that, God's watching me. So to me, it's not worth it. But those are from the lessons I was taught, because we don't have fathers and mothers in the home actively teaching their children. Where are they going to learn it from? Their friends, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever they're learning in school, whatever the hell school's teaching nowadays, because they'll let freaking drag queens read your kids a story. So no, You have to be in your kids' face teaching them what you want them to learn, but so many people don't do that anymore because they're busy YOLO and living their own life, and the tablet is raising them. So yes, community is important. Having parents in the home that are actively talking to their children. Some parents don't even know their kids. They're like, oh, my kid committed suicide. I didn't even know they were sad. How could you not notice?
No, that
They
doesn't make
don't
any.
Yeah,
have meetings and they don't talk to them.
yeah. I mean, I'll say this too. You know, I'm not a parent. I don't have any children yet, but I do
Louise, you seem
understand.
like you'd make a great dad. I'm surprised.
Yes, he does. I'm not surprised.
I'm
Though.
surprised. I'm surprised.
I am.
You know,
I'm surprised.
thanks. Um, you know, a lot of parents unfortunately find themselves, you know, working and, you know, not being able to kind of make it to these after school programs or go to the kids games or ballets or parent teacher conference and things like that. Being present and getting the insight of like what's really happening with the young kids, because I know for in my family dynamic, you know, my mother and father always interchange and always attended these types of things, and that's why it's important. But unfortunately, especially today with the amount of access that young people have with the internet, with the phones and all this stuff, I find that those devices are raising these young children and not the parents, right? And I think that a lot of parents, you know, are trying to do their best, but unfortunately, I think the oversight understanding is that they're underestimating the impactful influence that this culture has today in other young children too, because you have the bullying, you have the hazing and stuff, and that plays a huge part in, you know, changing that dynamic of how young kids think, and because they feel that they have to fit in or they have to be part of the mold, those conversations with their parents need to be more constant to help them separate what's right and what's wrong and what are the principles and values that their household follows.
Right. And those have to be more important to than whatever your friends are saying. I used to get made fun of at school for speaking proper English. They used to be like, oh, why are you talking like a white girl? And I was like, oh, so I tried to switch it up. I tried to fit in and be like, yo, now I'm cool, trying to talk like a black girl. And they would make fun of me. And I would get in trouble at home. I'm like, I don't care what y'all say at school. My father doesn't allow it. I have to speak. I have to articulate my words. I can't be talking about streets and strawberries over there because he won't allow it. I used to get
See,
in
All right,
pots.
new.
that's where we're at right
That's
now.
new,
So
new.
my kids are going through what I went through, which was what you went through. Was then my kids speak like me. So if you're out here in Baltimore, you're going to sound different, and you don't have to sound like these kids because you. First of all, you don't. No matter how hard you're trying, you do not sound like these kids. And second of all, you are who you are, and that they should value you for who you are and what you're bringing without you having to change your entire vernacular to fit in. So I completely understand what you guys are saying. I completely understand what Kelly's saying the most because I experienced what she experienced when I went from Iowa to Georgia and to Florida. So I completely understand switching it up, pretending, saying all these words that didn't fall into what I used to say, and pretending. And
To fit
I'm
in.
better off being
All
who
right,
I am.
I want to get Jay in there real quick. Been patiently waiting. Go ahead, Jay. You want to add to?
Quiet.
Nah, I mean, I think this is just the plan, so to speak. I mean, I think it's designed this way. It's designed for you to spend less and less time with your kids and more time working or chasing the bag, so that somebody else is putting an impression on your kids. I mean, like Kelly mentioned about the drag queens, or, reading to your kids. Some families don't even have time to care about that. They're working hard, the boss is on their back, or they're working two jobs. If they had more time, please believe they would go to that school and raise some hell. But when you're working and you're caught up in the wheel, you don't have time to be fighting a drag queen over a story they told your kid or some book that your kid is reading in school, this influencing them a certain way. So I think, it's a bigger argument. It's part of the design. They want parents to have less and less time with their kids, or be so exhausted or mentally drained that you don't even have time when you come home at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the evening. All you really have time to do is, yo, did you do your homework? Yo, did you, take your shower? All right, see you on the weekend. Hopefully most parents is the weekend, but you probably so tired on the weekend, or you have so much stuff built up that you have to do. There's no real quality time. That's why marriage is needed. So two things can be delegated. One person cannot do all of that.
Yeah, you
It's
brought it
built,
home. You just took it full circle.
it's
Yes.
built for two people to delegate time. If mom is working her ass off, then dad can spend time. If dad is working his ass off, then mom can spend time. That's why I think marriage is needed.
Or they both don't have to work so hard because the two incomes are helping out, where one doesn't have to bust their ass to pay rent and the other person in another place paying rent in a separate place. They can combine their resources and work together as a family.
Or we
Boom!
can
They just
say,
brought it home.
Y'all realize we're talking about the 2023 women, right? We are talking about these 2020. These women are not sharing their resources. They're not trying to combine.
Requirement.
No, listen to me. Most men have to deal with these issues that y'all talking about. They don't require marriage to have kids. These heifers are dropping babies on the regular. They don't require marriage. First things first. So we talking about what was the question
I need
again?
the 1950 man to raise up and take care of the 2023 women.
Chad, what was the question again, brother? I'm sorry.
Oh,
I see it on the screen, but I forgot what the question was.
Hold on, I got you. Besides business, it's a reason for a man to pursue marriage.
No, for a man, no. That's probably the biggest and only reason in 2023 is for business. Because again, they don't require marriage to have kids. You go out to have kids, and it doesn't matter for a lot of expectation for these women. So it doesn't. Now, I agree. Two parents should be in the household together, raising the kids together as one family. But that's not what was required. And I agree with what somebody said in the comments. For man, it's conditional. As far as the love for women, conditional. There's no conditions for the kids, for the woman, or for the pets. I agree with that wholeheartedly because there is none. Men's only love on condition. And if we don't provide certain things, the love ain't there. The love is not coming. The love won't ever show up for us. So it's all conditional for a man. So what good reason other than business for a man to get married? There's very little to none. If she doesn't require me to even have married to have kids, other than that, what is it?
Can I ask you a question?
13. Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead and finish. I know you got a couple questions.
I think so.
Oh,
you go ahead, ask a question. I'm done.
I want to know, do you feel like what's required of men is too much? Like, are women asking for too much of men?
Oh yeah, they got high standards. They got high standards. I mean, to the point where you see that Ebony lady, she's about to have a baby while they even looking for a husband. That's what she's talking about doing. She may already did. It might have been an old interview I've seen.
Can we speak about women you would date though, or women that would date you, and not like unrealistic like celebrities and like stuff like that?
If majority of them out there like that. What do they have?
High standards. What are you saying? What are you saying that women have as high standards?
Well, to the point where they don't believe in one pot. They don't believe it's my money. You're not getting my money. A woman gonna sit there and say about, why are you bragging about your money yet I have no access to this money? Then why are you bragging about what you bring to the table as far as income? No, that income's not for us. It's for you. It's for you as an individual. Now, if you're going to bring it to the table and I have access just like you have access to my money, then talk about it. Then brag about it. But if you're not, you just wasting your goddamn breath.
So you prefer like having a joint account where like all the bills are paid collectively, and then is it okay for her to have like her separate mad money?
No, there's
everything
no separate.
All in one.
You damn right. Our money's together in one pot. If it's one income like we really talk about, then it's one income. Don't talk about my money, your money. No, it's our money. We're going to bring our money together. If I'm going to bless you with my last name, we're together in everything. You're going to give me your body, but you afraid to give me your money? That
It's
makes no
not.
sense to me.
So you can have some of it, but you should never give somebody everything that you
That's
have.
bullshit,
You should
Joy.
never, I don't care. You should
That's
never give some.
bullshit,
Well,
Joy.
Pink, you can agree to disagree after
You'll
I
never
finish.
get a man like me
You
talking
should,
like
you
that,
can agree to
Joy.
disagree after I
Stay with
finish.
Charlie.
And my man is completely aware of what I'm saying, and I'm
I heard
going to
what
say
you
it
said,
anyway.
and I
So
disagree.
you will, okay, King, I understand. So we will have our separate funds, and we will have our joint account, and we will have the majority of the money go to the joint account, and we will have side money that I don't have to ask him to use, and he's not going to ask me about, and he's fine with it, and I'm fine with it, and it works for us. And I don't think we should shame people out of that and say, if you don't give 100% of your money and he gives 100% of his money, because he's going to have his own separate money too. If he gives 100% of his money into the family pot, then that's not real love. Yes, it is. We just have our own stipulations on it, and that's fine with us.
People just need to stop watching other people's
That's the
pockets.
selfish mind. And again, that's the selfish mindset I'm talking about. So what benefit other than that is for a man to be married other than business? None.
But
So
let me.
How is it selfish if you're sharing? How is
Yeah,
it selfish
so
if you're sharing?
people,
I want to know.
yeah, people just need to stop watching other people's pockets and
How is
show
it selfish?
like
I
self.
want to know.
Like it just seems like it's opportunistic to even be trying to like whether or not I'm going to bring my salary to this relationship shouldn't be a concern of yours. What we should be focused on is what we're doing for each other. Like what your requirements are, what your standards are, what your boundaries are, what your values are, what your principles are, and how we align there. Everything else is going to fall into place. Because if y'all are focused on all this monetary, worldly crap, that it's not going to be a relationship. It's definitely going to be a sinking ship for facts.
The
Yeah,
lies
So
we
we
tell
shouldn't even
ourselves
talk
to make
about this
ourselves feel
until
Lady
better.
Mo,
The
it's
lies we
always
tell ourselves to make ourselves feel better. These are lies. Let me say this. You sit there talking about money's not important, then leave your ass in the hood somewhere and talk about money's not important to you.
Money wasn't important.
You
Like,
just sit there and say that. No, you
it's
sit
not
there
a
and say that.
priority.
I kind of want to respond back to.
Okay, I got you. Not priority. I got you.
I want to respond back to Lady Movet. You know,
And me
she
too.
had asked, you know, is the standard or the bar too high for men? And I think that it's a little bit deeper than just the bar being too high. Unfortunately, what tends to happen and plays out in the world is that a lot of young men are sometimes growing up in unstable situations. You know, some of them are being put out as early as 18 or 16, and unfortunately a lot of them are not really focused or prioritizing on the things that they need in order to kind of put themselves, they don't have enough room for them to self-discover the things that they like and that they enjoy and that they're passionate about, for them to invest themselves into it. I think that we're trying to, you know, turn young boys into full-fledged men, like if they were 38. You know, the transition is going from 18 to 38 overnight without any room or runway for self-development, self-discovery, you know, and self-growth. There's none of that. And sort of a lot of young men trying to grow up quickly without understanding who they are and going through those trials and tribulations to kind of figure out, you know, how am I going to you know, come together with somebody else? You know, how am I going to build myself, and what are the things that I invested in, that I'm passionate about, my purpose, right? There's none of that. We're trying to raise young boys into men too quickly without that runway of space. And sort of those same young men, unfortunately, get into relationship and there's an expectation because they're half cooked. They're not where they need to be there yet. And sort of they're not having, you know, these conversations with the people that they're in, because they're trying to, you know, give off the impression that they have it figured out or that they have it good. Kind of hence going back to the title from earlier, a lot of people are not where they need to be because they're such in a rush to try to put things together. And a lot of young people need to find each other early to have those conversations and build and work with each other, as opposed to, you know, waiting until later in life to figure that out. And a lot of men, unfortunately, and I see this and dudes that I've been around with, figuring it out way too late, and then they're trying to rush into things, right? Because the things that they should have been doing in the very beginning, they're doing later in life. So if you don't work early, you're gonna end up working late.
So the
I
money
think
talk doesn't come up until we're closer to marriage. So once we start talking about, okay, we want to be married, that's when we've already decided that we have all the things we're looking for in a marriage. Now we need to us we need to make sure that we confront these things that cause divorces. So let's look into the finances. How do you want to handle the finances? Let's look into blah blah blah. But before now, we weren't talking about what we were going to do when we were married with our finances because we weren't on this level. So we came up with the decision of you have your own separate, I have my own separate, and we have a joint account together after we decided already that we loved each other for our personalities, our characteristics, our abilities that we're bringing to the relationship. We've already decided that we love each other for those things and we would love to be together. But do you want to have kids? He has a vasectomy right now. He's trying to decide if he wants to have kids with me. These are decisions that we have to make before we get married. And we're not going to have these conversations early on because it's not as serious. But as those conversations come up, we need to be able to communicate it effectively and decide if we're going to work together on this. And so far, so good.
And
So
that right
you
there
talk about
lies.
having kids, but you don't talk about finances before then.
What'd you
Yeah,
say?
You talk about having kids, but you don't talk about finances.
We're talking about all of that now. That's what I'm saying. Now that we're deciding if we're going to get married, we're talking about if he's going to have kids after we're married. He's talking about how we're going to handle finances after we're married. We're talking about where we're going to be living, how we're going to get stationed in the same place after we're married. All these things we were not talking about before we were married. We're just making things work around it. Now that we're trying to get married, we're trying to iron out these things before we get married. And it's like we went into this without having clear. I'm somebody that needs clear guidance. I am. It just is what it is. So I need to know what it is before we get into it. And I like that he's all right with that.
All right,
You
we're
got
gonna
the
go ahead and transition. Yeah.
you got the right
real,
one, Mr.
But,
Charlie. Good for you.
real quick. I
but
just want to one more thing.
Good for you.
It's culture too in terms of like off of what Lewis was saying. It's culture. Like for instance, I have a neighbor. They have a son and a daughter. I watch these kids grow up. I watched them go to graduate high school, graduate college. Now they have jobs and corporate. These two kids is white kids. They're still living with their parents currently. They have their boyfriends come over. They have their girlfriends come over, brother and sister. Our culture would shame them. Oh, you still living with your mom and dad, nigga? You can't even get no. Like me, I remember when I was in my, late teens, early 20s, I wanted to get out the house so I could get some ass undisrupted, or I ain't have to sneak, or I ain't have to, you know what I mean? Like, because all my friends, they were in apartments that they could barely afford. They were in apartments scrambling month to month to get rent so that they could keep this apartment just so they could get some ass uninterrupted. I'm looking at these kids when they leave that house, you know what they're going to move into? A house. Better or, equal or better. It's a nice house already. Or, and when they move into their house and, the parents pass on, whatever they get older, they're going to have a house and their house. So it's culture in terms of we feel we need to jump the gun, you know, even with kids. Allow kids to be kids, allow them to grow, allow them to build up. With our culture, it's like, oh, you still living with your parents?
I agree
Yes.
with that. I agree with
yeah.
that. And I like what Luis said. He called him half baked man. That was funny. Sorry, but it's real. I'm actually writing a book. No offense to the men, it's not meant to dig. It's called Half-Ass Male Millennial, and it's about I compare and parallel the men of old versus the men of today and how they got to where they are versus how they were, like the men like my father versus the men now. And in that I talk about just because you're born with a penis doesn't make you a man. You're a male and you have to develop into a man. But a lot of times men aren't given the opportunity to develop into that man, and they don't have a man at home guiding them. Because if you, number one, if you're raised by your mom, you're not going to learn how to be a man. You won't. You have to learn that from your father or an uncle or grandfather, somebody in your life that is a man. You have to have that teaching, that guidance. You have to have these talks, how to balance a checkbook, what is a mortgage, how to take care of it, how to deal with taxes, like these life lessons that aren't being learned. And all of my Caucasian friends, just like Jay said, that happens with them. They sit at home. A lot of my friends are doctors and lawyers, and they stayed at home. Their parents paid for their college. They didn't graduate with debt, and now they're making six figures, and they're just fine. And they all have to do is graduate. They have a wife. They have their kids. They have their big home because their parents had their back all the way. Their parents had the right connections to get them into the schools that they wanted. So they're set up properly, and they had a 2-parent home. So they are set up better than a lot of Black people. But I think, like Jay said earlier, that's the goal, to break up Black families so they can't build communities, so they don't have support. You don't even have home support. You're like, most Black families, they're 18, get out.
Yeah, which is a setup for failure. And unfortunately, I really like what you said. Good luck with that book. I would love to read it. A lot of young men are unfortunately trying to fuck their way into masculinity, into manhood. And
because that's what's told is important.
And a lot of them perceive that. I mean, you got guys who are like 34, 35, 36, still excited over a cat.
40.
Excited over that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that still excites you. Like that's the part that kind of boggles me. It's like, man, you had to have graduated past that. You know what I'm saying? And there's no development. It's like you're still excited about that as if you were a 16-year-old kid in high school. And sort of that development is so stumped. But I want to say this. There are vehicles to set yourself up and your children up, especially when they're young. So, opening up a child LLC for your child and buying a piece of property and real estate and setting it up under their name, getting a business account and setting it up under their name. So what they ended up happening as they're growing up, they're building credit. And when you do that, that allows that money in that vehicle to be funneled to other buckets, such as a UTMA account for college or any of these other vehicles that will help pay for school, so they don't leaving school with a ton of debt. So now they're getting kicked out at 18, so they're behind. Now they go to college, rack up debt. Now they're even further behind, and then this vicious cycle continues.
And no one explains to them how credit even works because their parents have bad credit.
Exactly. And that right there becomes a recipe for the disaster. One of the great things that I got is when I graduated high school, I not only graduated high school with my diploma, but I also graduated with a trade, a skilled trade. And then I also did 3 years out of 4. I finished a 4-year degree in 3 years, right? So by 22 I already had a 4-year degree and I had a trade. You know what I'm saying? Skilled trade in construction. And
did your father teach you that to do that?
My father worked he worked construction. He did rails in the island. And sort of like I went to like a voc ed school, so I took up construction carpentry, which is why I landed in the profession of architecture today. And sort of I use that as a vehicle, you know what I'm saying? Use your trade to pay for school or pay for everything else. You know what I'm saying? Use those skills to pay and create other avenues for yourself, right? And even still then, even when I graduated from high school and all that stuff, I still lived at home until I was 28. I still was at home until 28. After I got out of grad school, like right around before I finished grad school. And then from there, I didn't rack up no debt. Everything was paid. I bought a house. These are type of things that you set up. And mind you, I'm a first generation child. So these are things that a lot of parents could kind of look at, because you want your grandchildren and your great grandchildren to be in a much better. Sorry, I cut out. You want them to be, in a much better situation than you were. And sort of that right there is how you break the generational curse. Not get off that wheel of kicking your kids out and then allowing them to rack up abundance that allows them from progressing forward in society.
Also, yeah, facts, and also pouring into them. Like everything that you know, your child should know before they reach 18. You should pour it all into them so they're set. Like I think Hink's son is going to be so set up because he has his father in his life that's actively pouring into him. Like he shows up to all the games. He even helps all the other kids on the team. He's like, I don't know if you're a coach, but I know he pours into even the boys that don't have kids, don't have fathers. So that's so important. His son's gonna grow up to be a man, and he's gonna have like all these skills already set in place because his father is active in his life. A lot of people don't have that, so I think that's amazing.
We're gonna go ahead and transition. Let me go ahead and highlight these super chats real quick. Eugene Still $5 also member says men want to extend the family tree, but above anything else, men don't want to be lonely. I think he's trying to say.
That's true.
Marcus Evans $2 says I agree with Hink. Interracial relationships, sex, dating, marriage $2 says men into 40s can focus more on purpose than sex. And speaking of Hink, you mind if I play a little brief clip of that old school you got, man? You mind if I bring it up?
You're muted, Hink.
No, that's cool. That's cool, Dale. I'm sorry.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and play this. Put this video real quick. Just a little sample of Hink this morning flexing.
You know what I'm doing right now? I'm in this 75 Chevy Impala. Beating these streets up right now. That's kind of what I do right now. I'm maxed out. It's Derby weekend. I'm chilling. Just ride.
Yeah, shout out to Hink, man. Just rolling, man. That was last Thursday, man. I don't think we got an old school, the classic, man. You got a brand new vehicle or something like that. Sometimes you want to just get some wind and vent and just connect to nature, man. That's how men kind of get it off. And nothing like that ride, man. I remember them rides on Lakeshore Drive, just roll, just sightseeing.
Isn't it better though when the lady's riding beside you?
See you, Hank.
It's always better.
The
You
wind
said it's better when the lady's right beside me. Look,
Sometimes it's better when he come back from that ride. Let that man have that ride.
If a lady can't handle getting attention, you don't want to be in that car. Because you're going to get looks.
The ride will be much more enjoyable if I'm there with you.
I'm about to go put some gas in my tank and picking up my son from school.
He got that plastic, boy. That look good. Yeah. All right, we'll go ahead and keep it moving. If you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Shout out to Bruiser and Sir Hill again. Should a man marry a woman for her love or for her service? We got 2 more points to highlight, kind of break down in this video. I'm going to go ahead and get into the next one, which is so many men have been pumped with the idea of find the woman that loves you. I'm going to go ahead and give a little bit of this clip for context.
Of love and finding this woman, and to see him dealing with it. Now, I say this to say, I think that so many men have been pumped with the idea of find the woman that loves you. And once you get a man to pursue a woman from that mind frame, he can't really see who she really is. He can't see further than that. And so I think men should pursue wives. I think men should do that. But men should do it with their heads and not with their hearts. Because if they do, they put themselves in a position to get with a woman who gives them just enough to blind him from seeing who she really is. So I really appreciate you answering that.
Man, that's
All right, there we go. So many men have been pumped with the idea of find a woman that loves you. I'm going to go ahead and go to Jay first. What are your thoughts about it, sir?
I mean, I think that's a good point as far as using your head, not your heart, because your heart could put you in some compromising situations. I've definitely had multiple experience with that. I think in terms of well, let me give a quick situation. Like, I've had a situation where a person told me within like 3 months, 2 months maybe, that they loved me. You know what I mean? And I'm not sure if y'all have experienced that, but it puts you in a situation almost like you feel obligated to, like you on the clock. So it's like you looking at your watch, like, all right, man, let me see how long I got before I can say it to them. All right, now, yeah, I love you too. You know what I mean? Like situations like that, I think is unhealthy. You have to be able to identify that, but your heart is telling you, they're a good person, but they might not be that person for you, and when somebody kind of throws that on you, it kind of makes you feel obligated. Your heart is telling you, yo, this is a good person, stay, figure it out. But your head is going to tell you, dog, why are you telling me this 2 months in? Literally we 8 weeks in and you telling me this. It's unhealthy and you need to move on from it. So definitely try to move with your head, not your heart.
Do you think it's unhealthy for a person that maybe spoke to a person every single day for 8 weeks to actually love someone, and not that because I don't know that I just okay. You think it's unhealthy for a person? You don't think it's possible for a person to fall in love with a person after 2 months, or not in love, but to love a person after 2 months?
I don't think that it's not possible. I just don't think you should disclose it. If that is what you feel, I don't think you should disclose it at that point.
You don't think that's a fear-based perspective?
I mean, it can be if you're saying it's fearful, because as the person putting it out there, you have to know there's a level of pressure that you're putting on another person by disclosing that. If I told you that I
How long are
loved
you
you,
supposed to wait? Sorry.
you said how long? No. Ask the question. How long should you wait?
How long should you wait to tell somebody when you love them?
How long have you known the person? Has it literally you've known them for 8 weeks and you've talked to them every day? Is that
I
what
want
you?
to
I
I'm
know
think
what
asking
I
the lady.
how long for you do you think it's appropriate? Because I don't have a time frame. It depends on the person for me to decide if they're somebody that I love, like who they are. But it fluctuates. So when am I supposed to tell you? Not based off of the way I feel about you, but what is an appropriate time? So
Mhm.
even if I'm feeling it earlier, I'll wait till this time to tell you.
Okay, so I mean, I feel like after you've dealt with some adversity, I feel after you've learned the person a little bit, after you've seen some other sides, because I feel like 8 weeks you haven't seen the person in different weather, different storms. You haven't allowed your opportunity to learn, allowed yourself an opportunity to learn more. You know what I mean? I feel is almost the equivalent, like what Lady Mogul has said about talking to a person every day on the phone for 8 weeks. Like that doesn't even need to happen. You know what I'm saying? There needs to be some type of balance as far as learning the person. If you put two people in a room and have them, it presents like a false situation. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not what their life is going to be. Being in a room together for 8 weeks or being on a phone together for 8 weeks, that's kind of fast forwarding a situation where your circumstances are always not going to be like that. So you should have some balance. You shouldn't be on the phone with somebody every day for 8 weeks. You should allow your time, some time. And I mean, maybe that's the case because, we're older. We don't have time for that. So, you know, maybe that's the case, but I feel like there needs to be a balance.
So
But
is it
getting the
I
the
agree
temperature
with.
out. Go ahead.
go ahead, real
uh,
precious?
I was gonna say I agree with Jay. I think that you should disclose love when you know that you love someone, that when you know that you're suitable for them. Most times men would feel suitable for someone before a woman would feel suitable for a man. Now he might not necessarily say I love you. Some men would, some men will hold off. But I think when both know that they're suitable for one another, then I think it should be disclosed. A lot of times women will say I love you first, but men would know that she's suitable first. And women, when they're saying "I love you," it's you have to ask her, what is that based off of? When you say when you say you love him, are you basing it off of the fact that you guys are suitable, or does he make you feel good, or does he say things that you like? Because when he says something that you don't like, do you still love him? When he does something that you don't like, do you still love him? When there's a sacrifice that you need to make and it hurts you more than it hurts him, do you still love him? And you only really can answer those questions if you are suitable for that person. Because if you're not suitable for that person, it's going to be a problem.
So,
So,
I'm sorry. I thought you finished.
go ahead.
I have this thing that I do when I have anyone sit in front of me that has had a successful marriage, and in my opinion, that's over 20 years. So you've been through the trials, you've had your kids, you've done your test. So 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, if you've been married a long time, I always ask them, especially if I have patients in front of me and there's a couple, I'm like, so how did you two meet? And I always ask the man and the woman, how did you know that they were the one? And when did you know? And the man always says they knew right away. Especially Caucasian men. Sorry, fancy lines. But they
It's
always say,
not
"Oh, I
sorry.
knew." Like
That's what my man says.
they like always see, like I knew when I saw her. That's my wife. And he said, I just made sure that she proved out to be what I thought she was from the very beginning. But they always say, I just knew. Like as soon as I saw her, I'm like, I'm gonna marry that girl. They always tell their friend, I'm gonna marry her. She's the one. That's gonna be my wife. I'm like, how? Like, how do you know? I just knew. That couples that have been married for decades, they always say that. The woman's like, oh, it took me a little bit longer, but definitely he's the guy. But the guy always says they know right away. As soon as I saw
Because
her.
we
Did
were
he ever
made from
say?
man. We were made from a man. So a man is going to be able to recognize us way before we're going to be able to recognize him. But because we were made from him, we have to recognize him too. And a lot of women, they recognize men but not their man. And so when you're made from a man and he sees you, he's definitely going to know before you. And as the man and as the leader, if he's doing that correctly, then you are created for one another. But it comes when you have a lot of conflict, when you have a lot of when you don't see, when you're not equally yoked. He sees it one way, you see it another way. You're not easily you're not coachable, you're not someone who has an open mind. But most times men can see their wives because that's what they're looking for. They have dominion over, the land. And women, it takes us a little harder because we're supposed to be working. We're supposed to be doing what we have to do to continue to be that wife. Because when he finds us, we're supposed to be wives. So he's looking for us. He's searching for us. He's on a hunt for us while we're, with our head down doing what we have to do. So I definitely hear that a lot too, Kelly, that men know way before women do. And that's why it's hard for women to also trust men as well, because some women don't even know what they're looking for, or they don't know themselves to be found, by this man.
Or they don't know why he really loves you. If it aligns with something that's gonna make you feel safe, like meaning if he loves you for what he can get out of you, or if he loves you for who you are. So,
or if he loves me because I'm happy, like this is a very good time right now while we're going out and enjoying the summertime. Do you love me at the end of the summer because we've had all these great experiences? But are you going to love me in the wintertime when I'm not exposed to the sun as much and I'm not as peppy as I am in the summer and the springtime? So those
My
things are
tan just
something
isn't
to actually
right.
consider.
So
I think Jay had a question. I think Jay had a question real quick. Then we go to Luis. Go ahead, Jay. What was your question?
No, I was gonna ask Kelly, did she ever ask them how long they took to disclose what they knew? Like the males, did they ever say how long it took for them to come out and say, I love you?
So it's different. That question is different because some guys will be like, yeah, sometimes I tell her, like, you're gonna be my wife. Like they'll tell her, like, you're the one. And then she's like, wait, what? Back up, dude. Hold on. It's a little too fast. But a lot of times they'll be like, I had to wait and watch her for a bit and just to make sure. But a lot of people who've been married for a long time, they get married pretty quick. I'm like, so how long? Like, my question is, how long from the time you met to the time you asked her to marry you? Usually, it's like within a couple months, like 6 months max. Like couples that have been married a long time, like 6 months. I asked her. Like it was quick. It wasn't no long drawn out thing. I think when you know, you know. I don't think there has to be this long vetting process and this long engagement. I think those people are marrying the wrong people. But the people who last a long time, it's like they don't put all this effort into it. I think it's just a knowing, and this is my right person, and you make it work with that person. But again, I think that's what's different about the old days, because if they're married in their like 60, 50 years, that means they got married decades ago. And they were willing to put forth the effort. I call this day and age the age of the trial marriage. They're like, oh, this one didn't work. I guess I'll try another one. I know people who've been married 5 times. Like, how do you mess it up 5 times?
My granny.
God damn. 5 times.
I want to go to Louise.
Yes. I used to work with another LDO, and she's like, oh, I'm on my 5th husband. If this doesn't work out, this is it. You should have gave up at 3. Like, what do you mean? 3rd time's the charm. 4 or 5 is not going to be any better.
Yeah,
she's on her 5th marriage.
All right, I want to go to Luis. Go ahead, Luis.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to bring up, there used to be a time that we used to say, I do till death do us part, but today we marry until love dies. So if the love dies, or the love isn't as fulfilling as it was in the beginning because of all the butterflies and all that stuff, that euphoric feeling slowly starts to dissipate, then people say that person doesn't care about me anymore. That person doesn't love me anymore. And we've kind of went through this cyclical cycle talking about how people change and how love, evolves in a relationship, marriage, etc. And I really want to kind of pose this because we tend to hear a woman is supposed to be a wife when we find her, and we understand the family and the community effort behind creating that woman to be a wife when a man finds her, right? It's not like, okay, she's 18 and these things happen. Nothing happens in a vacuum. And sort of, I think there's a huge community or family presence behind making that woman a wife when a man finds her. At the same time, I've also had conversations with women who will never marry a man who didn't have a strong, positive, masculine presence, uncle, father, anything alike in their life, because what they have told me is that they feel that those men tend to not have boundaries. They don't tend to have being held accountable for themselves and people around them, right? And sort of, I look at both sides and I kind of wonder to myself, when a woman who is a wife and a man approaches her, does she know that that man is even husband worthy? Because I hear women out here talking about, they've turned down 2 or 3 proposals. Is it because those men were not those type of men that they deem to be worthy of husbands, or is it because they lack a certain proof about them, right?
I think Lady Muggalette should answer this.
Not you trying to put me on the spot. No. Yeah,
Oh, because I know you're highly coveted. So
no. To answer the last question, I would just say it's just a flawed decision making, essentially. I feel like when women go into relationships, the goal, at least for me, or women that think like me, is to be with that person forever. Like, I'm not gonna be in a relationship with someone expecting for it to not work out. So if I've been engaged and didn't work out, the person I chose just wasn't the right person for me. And sometimes you don't see it right away. Or maybe I wasn't the right person for them. And you just don't see it right away.
But do you feel that there should be more communal engagement in terms of people coming together? Because like if we leave people alone to their own devices, right, and them picking a person, it seems based on what we've experienced and what we constantly talk about, people are unfortunately picking the wrong people for all the wrong reasons. But
Of course,
you know what I'm
but
saying?
that
So
kind of goes back to what we were speaking about earlier, right? People not like kids in our communities not necessarily either being shown a certain structure, not being exposed to what healthy love looks like, not having certain values and morals instilled in them. So they're having to learn on their own. If they leave, like for me, I left home. I graduated high school at 16. I was out of my mother's house by 17. Like working, making a living for myself. Like, so like the things that like I valued early on, a lot of other young women probably weren't thinking about because they maybe still had that covering. But that also meant that maybe I was maturing faster than I needed to. So I wasn't necessarily as open to the tutelage of people around me that could have been useful to help me to make certain decisions for myself. You know what I'm saying? So that would make a woman make a decision or choose someone that's not necessarily right for you if you're looking for something long term. If you don't know what to look for or what characteristics or traits to look for, you gotta do it. But I feel like that tends to boil down to flawed decision making skills or underdeveloped decision making skills.
All right.
Can I answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
I also think having that male figure in your life helps you determine what to look for in a man. And if you don't have that, how do you even know what a good man looks like or what he is? Or I compare it to like a like a foreign money currency. If someone walked up to you and handed you a counterfeit uh, bill from another country, you wouldn't really know it was counterfeit because you never got to experience the authentic money. But if someone handed you like a purple dollar bill, you'd be like, this isn't right. Like, you know that this is not what it looks like. So if you have that standard set before you from a father figure or a grandfather, some male figure, like this is what a man should act like. This is how he should treat me. This is what I watched him do with my mother. This is how I saw my grandfather treat my grandmother. You know, this is how a man should treat you. But if you never get to see that, like, how do you even know if a man is saying certain things to you, like, this doesn't feel right, this isn't right? How do you know what that looks like if you never got to experience that true, authentic connection between your parents or your grandparents or someone in your life? There's so many broken homes, and you expect young girls to be able to choose the right kind of man when they've never seen what a real man looks like.
Yeah, Kelly's right. When you don't see it, it's hard to um when you don't see it, it's hard to know what you're looking for. And then when you don't see it and it's not there, that really has an effect on you. And I don't think a lot of women are honest about that. I talk about having hot conversations, honest, open, and transparent conversations. And so when you talked about your priorities being different when you left your mom's house, we don't realize that those priorities that we think we have are going to affect us later on in life. And then if you don't have the example, anyone that comes your way, it's like, oh, I like him. I love him because he gives you a good feeling. And I'm not saying personally, but I'm just saying for the women that don't experience a father loving, a mother, that don't experience a husband loving a wife. They're two different types of love. It's two different types of discipline. I saw my father was a father, but he definitely was a husband. And he was always a husband before he was a father. His relationship with my mom, what me and my brother had going on didn't come in the way of what he had going on with my mom. He wouldn't let it. No, what me and your mom got going on, our marriage, I'm not gonna let because y'all gonna be out of this house. Y'all are leaving. But me and her have to have that that foundation of love. And we're not going to let anybody come in between that, not even the kids. So when you don't see that, and you don't see that type of discipline that a man has with his family, that he has with his wife, and that he has with his children, anything you see out in the world is going to be a distorted. It's not going to be a disciplined view of what you should want for your life. So I'm able to recognize when someone really wasn't raised with two parents. I'm able to recognize when someone really doesn't have finances. I'm able to recognize when someone really isn't emotionally stable, because they didn't have the practice of seeing it growing up. They didn't have the practice of actually being in the midst of it growing up. So when you don't have it, you have to seek after it. Just because you don't have it don't mean that you can't get it. Don't
Right.
mean that you can't benefit from, because seeking after it means that you want it. You want it bad enough. You want to have a lifestyle that you didn't see. And so you got to do a little bit of extra work, and that's okay. But you have to start with having that hot conversation, that honest, open, and transparent. I didn't see it growing up. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have anyone guide me and lead me and say, oh, all that man wants is this. Or he's a good guy, but let's see if he's, disciplined in these areas. Most fathers don't think that any guy is good enough for their daughter, right? They don't think any guy is good enough for their daughter. So when we're choosing on our own, and we talk about community, I believe Luis spoke about it, Jay spoke about it. When we talk about community, it's like you don't even, not seeing it early on. And then when you do have it, are you heavily leaning on it? Because your parents raised you, so they know you. Not to say that you don't know yourself, but there are times where we can get blinded by what we want. And if anybody knows that, our parents know that. So yeah, it's important to have that example. And if you don't, definitely seek after it. Read books. There
You
are
can like
so
position
many
yourself
things there.
exactly. Books, you can position yourself to couples that you see have good relationships and ask questions. You can glean from them. You can get involved with church groups that who believe marriage is and strong foundation is a good source to go to. Like there's so many things. If you want it, there are books that people have written, and you can go after it if you choose to. If you want it, you can seek after it. And I agree. And a lot of girls who don't have their fathers, they will seek that attention from other men because they didn't get that from their father. But so the first guy that shows them attention, they'll be like, "Oh, he loves me. He loves me," because they didn't know what a good, healthy love from a man felt like. A lot of women who have a good relationship with their father, they're kind of secure in how they feel with a man, and they also know how to rightly relate to a man. A lot of men are looking for women to submit. It's really easy for a girl who submitted to her father her whole life to submit to her husband because she already knows what that looks like. She already knows what the male authority in the house looks like. Like my dad's like, I have spoken. My husband's
That's
like, I've
like
spoken.
Hank. But you see how
All right.
Hank has his boundaries. Like my dad was like that. Like you couldn't knock him off of his square of his boundaries. It
Yep.
is what it is. So when
These
you
are the rules in my
encounter,
house.
right, when you encounter a man like that, it's not a surprise. It's not like, but why? It's like, no, that's how it is, because the first man in your life laid it down like that, and you have some fathers, God bless them. You got some fathers that do everything for their daughters. You know what I mean? I believe, fathers should provide, but hell, I wasn't spoiled. You know what I mean? It was like, I'm gonna give you the necessities, but I'm not gonna spoil you, because if I spoil you, then you're gonna expect for a man to spoil you.
You're
And a
gonna be a
man
brat.
shouldn't spoil you. A man should manage and be a good steward as a leader over his family, because don't nobody want to be in the poorhouse. So seeing that it really does prepare you for a man, because you're not thrown off guard. You're not surprised when you don't get something and things don't go your way. You're not acting like a brat.
Right.
You're acting
Like my
like,
dad told me
all
no,
right,
now my
well,
husband's telling me no.
no,
Okay.
right. It's not in sports too. I played sports growing up. I was in marching band, all this stuff where there were leaders in front of me guiding, and I didn't know it. They leaded me, or they were better at it. And so I followed. So it's a lot of things. If you don't have a father, one thing that you could do is get into sports, get into a craft, get into something where somebody knows more than you and you have to follow their lead. You have to shut up and follow their lead.
Yeah, I didn't have that, but I was always seeking that, like from my coaches or from my aunts and uncles. I would always pay attention to how they act. My grandparents, I'd always pay attention to how they act with their spouse and what their spouse did for them and what they did for their spouse, and just like which ones I wanted to mirror my my relationship in the future after. And it landed on my aunt and my uncle on my dad's side, and it's because they were authentically themselves, but they made sure to not offend each other, not be overly abrasive with each other, even though they were naturally overly abrasive people. They made sure to give each other um, extra consideration, extra care, so that their relationship stayed so close. They were so close. So I seen other types of relationships throughout my family, and that's the one that I was like, I want that. I want to make sure that when I'm talking to my man, I'm not talking to him crazy like my aunt over here does, because they seem miserable. Both of them seem like they hate each other. They seem like they love each other. They love being around each other. They don't hurt each other's feelings on purpose. These things are good things to see. So I think even if you don't have that, and then my coach, I always had a male coach, and he would always curse and be like extra abrasive. He's like, you're just too soft. You're just too soft. And I used to think that was so mean, because I'm like, I'm a girl. It doesn't matter that I'm not as hard as you. You're a guy. But I realized, like, absent of having that in the household, I was lacking that firm masculine frame of, you're gonna do what I say, how I say it, and stop crying about it. So I got that from other places.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and transition. I appreciate that. And
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to speak on it, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead. My bad.
No, I was gonna say a man shouldn't express his love to a woman until he can trust her, until he believes in her, until he can be vulnerable with her. Men, don't you do it until she can show you that, and until she does, don't share it. Even though you may feel it, even though it may be in your heart, don't share it until you can have those three. She can show you those three things: that you can be vulnerable with her, that you can trust her, and that you can believe in her.
All right, thank you for that.
And if not, leave her at the restaurant.
There you go. Leave her ass at the restaurant. Better get a T-shirt to say that, Hank.
Oh, I got one already, big brother. I send one your way if need be. You just let me know your
plans. Of course
plans.
you do.
Where is it? I want to see this T-shirt.
I want to see it. I want to see it, Hank. You want to get it? Are you selling it?
No, I'm not selling. I just got one made up.
Oh, okay. You mad if we see it?
Do you get questions when you wear it?
I'll wear it next week. I'll wear it next Sunday.
I got you. If you guys haven't already, hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Again, appreciate Bruiser and Sir Hale for the content today. Should a man marry a woman for her love or for her service? We are down to the last point that was made from Sir Hale and Bruiser's video. 2 super chats came through. Marcus Evan, $2, says, shout out to Sir Hale. Dedicated to my children's future, $20. Also, remember, says Sunday Energy. Strong arm emoji. Peace and respect to the panel in the chat. Let's hit the like button and help promote this truly unique show. It is a unique show, man. It's definitely different. It's positive. I think when people are looking for something calm, one of the calmer shows, this is definitely one that's on the list. So go ahead and hit the like button. I'm hearing the likes are low. Hit the dislike button if you don't like it. Any form of engagement would be all we need. Definitely appreciate the super chats when they come through. So salute to you. And shout out to my Green Gang. If you want to become part of the Green Gang, that link is pinned to the top of the chat. Now time to move on to something Sir Hale said. He said, men marry beautiful women because she adds to the status, but a real marriage is about a service. He expands on it. I did go ahead and speed to the part where he mentions this. I think the context would be helpful in order to engage this conversation. So let me go ahead and click on it right now.
Marriage for that's an interesting way to look at things.
Well, here's the thing. So a lot of men marry a beautiful woman because she adds to his status. But real marriage is not based off of how she bolsters his status. It's really about her service. And if unless a man finds a woman who comes in with the heart ready to serve her man and to really produce something for his life, he's gonna marry wrong. And you will see it, as time goes on, he becomes her come up. And the reason he's her come up is because she was looking for help. She wasn't looking to help. And I think it's important for men, especially men of means, to vet women and see how she can be in addition to his life, and not bolster his status, but provide service, because that's what a wife is. She's a helpmate. She's to provide a service to her husband and to her family as well.
Excellent.
Yeah,
All right, let's go ahead and dive into it. Should a man marry a woman for her love or for her service? You guys heard the context. I think I'm gonna go to Luis first, and then we'll go to Kelly Connection.
I think you should go to Jay first. He never gets to speak first.
I mean, it's up to you guys.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay. I'll go after you.
I didn't think Jay wanted first.
It's like, give me a moment to marinate on that.
I was kind of sensing that, like, whenever you had a panel every week with someone, you kind of learn them a little bit. So that's the reason I went to Luis first.
I really like the part where Sir Hale said, she came in to get help, not add help, right? Something along that line.
Looking for help, not looking to help.
Say again.
Looking for help versus
looking for help versus looking to help, and that I thought that right there is a very important line that should definitely be flipped. I think that some men, because we're talking about a specific type of man, right? And I always allude to this idea. There are certain men who are looking for a co-pilot, and there are men who are looking for a flight attendant. And I think that is very incumbent upon women to understand, what that man is specifically looking for.
Can
right?
you explain the difference?
Yeah, because I like that analogy. I think I got it.
So I say, I say that because a co-pilot is someone who helps, who you're still the main captain, but they understand the operations of the goal of the destination in which they're heading, where they're flying, where they're departing, where the relationship started, and where it's heading. And sort of he is incumbent on him to to kind of show them the direction, show them the purpose, show them the direction of the relationship. And in the event that he has to step back, that co-pilot, that partner is able to kind of step in and help and facilitate in any capacity that they can. The flight attendant,
and land the plane if he needs to,
and land the plane if they need to. The flight attendant, on the other hand, is there to be more of the showpiece, almost like how we tend to use like a trophy wife, right? They bring things of comfort. They show up in a particular type of way that doesn't involve them having their hands directly in flying or navigating the plane or understand the ins and outs of the purpose roadmap of their relationship, but they look good in terms of the optics to people on the outside, right?
Can you be both? Can you be a co-pilot and a flight attendant?
I think you could be both. I mean, I find it rare. I find it rare that some people want to navigate in both realms, right? I think there are moments where you tend to kind of step back and be like, I'll put on the cape and I got this as a man. And for this, you could just be, ride my coattail, right? But I think for most relationships, if we're really being honest and we really look at your partner wants to be involved. They want to feel like they are adding value in some way, shape, or form, right? They feel like their opinion is being valued. They feel that their presence and their time is being valued.
Is that the co-pilot?
Yes.
Oh, that's totally me.
You know what I'm saying? They feel like they have an input in and say, although the man might have the last saying in terms of that, but they feel like the the contribution of what they add, you know what I'm saying, or like especially when they step back, is being valued. And sort of, I don't think that someone who's in that sort of space wants to kind of revert back to being the flight attendant or kind of flip flop. I think it's either one or the other.
So like, I don't know Precious. I don't know what she does for a living. I don't know her at all other than panels. But she seems like the type of woman that could be both, only because you show up with her on your arm, they can be like, oh, dang, look at your woman, she's fly. But she can also articulate and have a good conversation. And if you leave the country, I would be confident that she could run the company while you're in your absence. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I left Precious. Is she gonna be able to do it? You know, but she's also gonna show up and be that beautiful woman that you can walk on your arm and people are gonna admire. So can it be? I don't know you.
I could see that. I could see that. I understand the perspective in which you're coming from. I could see that, but I think that's a small pool of women. I mean, if we're looking at like a healthy sort of collection of just women, I would find that there's probably a smaller pool of Precious or women like that want to be in that space versus the other ones who either gravitate towards being a co-pilot or just being the flight attendant in the relationship. You know, I think that I think that man who has a woman who could, navigate the two spaces and have a Precious will go a lot further because
and
they're not malleable.
Yeah. I think that most men want someone who could probably do both. However, even if you can do both, you have to know where you are actually needed. So if he needs me to do this, then okay, I'll be able to do that. If he needs me to do this, then I'll do that. But ultimately, we're talking about marriage and relationships. As far as the woman, like Sir Hale said, I love that he said that too, that women are looking for help, not asking to help. Ultimately, a man wants to be able to be with a woman, again, like I said earlier, who has that open mind to his program. So just because I can do both don't mean that I should do both. You know what I mean? If he needs me to do one particular thing, which ultimately is to be on his program and to be able to, and when people hear the word serve, they think slavery, or they think beneath them, or they think all of these negative things. When like I said earlier, if in a marriage there is a hierarchy, and there's the man, there's the wife, and then there are the children. The children look up to the parents, and the wife looks up to the man. I think that's how it should be. So it's how can I serve you type of situation. And I think that a lot of women think that puts them in this lesser box, when it actually puts you in a box where you actually get more. I had a clip a couple weeks back or a couple months back that says, if you want more from your man, serve. And I only say that because I've seen it. I've seen my mom do it. I mean, we'll have a tray ready for my father with food on it, snacks, some fruit, football Sundays. That's his chill day after church. So she makes sure, after dinner, he has everything that he needs to go in his corner to relax. We have family day. We, go to church together. Her role in the home was to serve her family. It was to serve the family. And then there were times where she did things that she liked to do too, but it didn't, serving the family definitely outweighed those things. And she was okay doing that. You have to have that mindset to do that for someone. And my dad made her comfortable. He made her safe. He provided for not only her, but for a family of 4, So I think that once, women are safe and comfortable, and a man is at that point in his life where he can provide that, then a woman should get into a space in her life saying, okay, how can I make his life easier? How can I make it better with me in it? Because I'm pretty sure it was pretty cool without you in it. So with you now being in it, how are you making it better? I think that women look to men just for, resources and just for money. And while those things are important, that's not what's going to help you when you're down and out because a family member passed away. How can you serve him emotionally? How can you serve him on a mental level when he's had a long day at work and don't necessarily want you to talk about Sally in HR? You have to be mentally aware of who you're with and being able to dwell with them. My mom knew when to talk to my dad and when not to talk to my dad. She wouldn't tell me like, "No, we're not going to talk to him right now. We'll talk to him about this on Saturday." So it's just seeing. It's something about just seeing it. It's something about just being in it, and your parents, seeing your parents work together, and even your mom being. I always say, like, my mom was my wife's school. There's nobody on YouTube or anywhere else where I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's like," no, I saw it firsthand. So, men, it's not good for men to be alone. Well, if he's not going to be alone and he's going to be with you, are you serving him? Or are you looking to be served? Because if you're looking to be served, child, you might as well just be someone on the street that's paying for it.
I don't
It's
think that
definitely a selfless
I don't
act.
agree with that last part, because we're supposed to serve each other. We're supposed to provide services to each other that we're lacking, in my opinion. So if I'm bringing to you exactly what you already have, it's not going to be as beneficial to you, in my opinion. If I'm coming to you with a different perspective or a different opportunity or different things that can help build, I think that's more beneficial. And when he's coming to me with things that could build me up, it's beneficial for all of us. It's beneficial for the family. So my man definitely provides services to me, and I definitely provide services to him. And anything he asks me to do, I'm going to do it for him, and vice versa. And I think that's very healthy.
So, shout out to all of y'all. I think this was a dope show today. Thanks for hitting me up. I'm always happy to come on. So I think when it comes to the question of whether a man should marry a woman for her love or for service, I think it's crucial to recognize that love and service are not mutually exclusive qualities. I think marriage is a sacred bond that goes beyond any specific reason or expectation. It's about finding a life partner, someone with whom you can share joy, sorrows, and everything in between. I think love is the foundation of a strong and lasting marriage, because it does create, again, that deep connection and sense of companionship that's supposed to withstand the test of time. But it's essential to acknowledge the importance of service within marriage as well, because it is about selflessness, it's about kindness, it's about supporting one another through life challenges and just like goals and dreams and aspirations. And I think when one partners genuinely care for each other, and just like their well-being and actively strive to serve each other's needs, it strengthens the bond and it fosters a more nurturing and loving environment. In my view, I think the ideal marriage is built upon a foundation of love, trust, and mutual respect, like I said earlier. And then love forms the emotional core, and then that sustains the relationship. And then I think service acts as like a practical expression of that love. So it's about cherishing each other, offering support, and being there both in good times and bad. And then on the other hand, I feel like if you're marrying someone for their service, it's like entering into a business transaction. Like, service is important. It shouldn't be like, it definitely shouldn't be like the only reason or the main reason that you're entering into a marriage, because I think when it's based on service, that creates that power struggle, that dynamic that leads to like resentment and dissatisfaction. And you definitely want to marry someone who loves you for you and not what you could do for them. So rather than choosing between love and service, I think the key lies in finding a partner that you can experience both with, like seeking a relationship where love is the driving force, and where both partners are committed to serving and supporting one another. And, that blend creates like something that I think we could truly find like fulfilling and lasting. I think that's what happens these days. People go in opportunistic, gimme, 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 serve me, serve me, serve me, instead of going in from a space of what can I do for you. I know me personally, if I say I love someone, it's somebody that I want to see do well, and I'm going to support them. This is whether in platonic or romantic relationships. I'm going to do my best to offer my resources to their success. So in my romantic relationship, of course, it's going to be that way. So I feel like ultimately the decision to marry should come from the heart and guided by love and understanding, the responsibilities and commitment that accompany it. It's about finding someone who fulfills your life with love and brings out the best in you, and someone you can build a strong partnership with based on love, service, and shared values.
Well, let me say this. Fattest, if your man said, I want one pot, would you be okay with that?
Yes.
No, you wouldn't. That's a lie. Okay, thank you anyway.
Gives me
Should a
he gives
man,
me
should
he
a
gives me
man
from his pot
marry a
all
woman?
the time. He's not a selfish man. So if he were to say, you want one pot, he wants one pot, I would say yes. But there's some men that I would absolutely say no to, and it would absolutely be a boundary I'm not going to cross with them, because I don't believe that they're selfish. I believe that they're selfish. But he is a very selfless man. So if he decided to take the whole pot, it wouldn't be just this only service him. It would be for the entire family. He would take care of it. He would take care of us. I would have to ask him every time I wanted to buy anything.
Why would you have to do that?
But what if I don't have the funds?
You
Or
have
if
access
it's
to
both of
accounts
our
just like he
funds, I'm
does,
gonna have to
man.
ask, right?
No, you don't. Don't you got a debit card or credit card?
Yeah, but you still have to ask. No?
As long as you're not the type of woman that's going to abuse it, you shouldn't have to. As long as he can trust you enough to bless you with a debit card or a credit card, he trusts you enough, and hopefully you won't abuse that. But knowing
I've
you've seen
always
That's where
asked.
them conversations come in at.
See,
Ain't that
exactly.
it,
This is another
Precious?
conversation that we will be having, because we haven't
Again,
had this
I
conversation.
don't understand. I don't understand your mindset, but it's not for me to understand. It's for Mr. Charlie. But let me go ahead and answer this question. Should a man marry a woman for love or for her service? Yeah, I think you should marry her for her service, because that's an act. I need to see action. Words are cheap. Words don't mean shit to me. I need action speaks louder than any words. So I need for you to show me in what you do. Not telling me. You can blow smoke up my ass. You can piss me down my back and tell me it's raining for all I know. That don't mean nothing to me. I need to see the actions. So if you're showing me, in your actions and how you move, how you do, how you carry yourself, yeah, that's going to tell me you love me more than the words any day. So,
yeah, I'm gonna say I gotta agree with Ink. I think most men's love language, if you do buy into it, is acts of service. I think that converts over into love. So once they see it, once they can physically see what it is that you bring in, the value that you bring into the marriage, to the relationship, to that bond, then I think it's just it's all love then. Anybody else want to add on to it? Should a man marry a woman for her love or for her service? Anybody that hasn't spoken yet?
I think that a man should marry. Oh, I'm sorry, Jay. Were you gonna go? Because I was totally.
He was
waiting.
right there.
I'm just gonna go back on mute. You go, Jay.
I used to think it was love when I was younger. I thought love was like the end all be all, until I got older and I started. You date differently when you get older, and if you notice that you're on your purpose and somebody comes into your life, and the things that you used to put forth towards your purpose and the times that you spent on your purpose become less and less because that person's in your life, then I think you need to make some changes.
So they derail your purpose.
Absolutely. And at first I thought that was just what you did. When somebody came into your life, you rearrange time, whereas somebody that is coming into your life for you and to assist you and to, help you be better, they're going to serve that purpose with you if they truly care about you, if they truly see a long lasting situation with you, they're going to serve that purpose with you. And that's where, so I do feel like acts of service, and it doesn't have to be like they're hijacking your purpose and do this and barking commands at you, but somebody that's like, that sees that time you spend and they understand that this is something that you have to do, this is something meaningful, this is something that defines you, they don't disrupt that. I mean, I've just noticed that as I've gotten older, and I've been like, okay, I have to, this person wants a phone call at this time, and I'm doing something that is working toward my purpose, and it becomes an argument because I didn't call you at this time, or we didn't talk for this period of time during the day. Nah, you need to get rid of that person, because they're gonna derail you. Whereas somebody else would be like, yo, they'll come over, somebody that is there to serve you and serve your purpose with you. They'll come and just sit down with you just to be there. You know what I mean? Be around you while you do what you're doing, or put an idea in, or try to help. You notice the difference, man. You notice the difference.
So I have a question, and this question is strictly for the women. On a bounce of probability, how often have you engaged, talked to, or dated men who have a, for some reason, it sounds like the faucet's running.
I was supposed to go next.
So this question is for the women.
Let me. I was supposed to go next.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just kidding. I can wait. I have my notes, so I don't mind.
All right. So my question is for the women. On the bounce of probabilities, how often have you engaged or dated men who have outlined a directional plan, a purpose with receipts that show consistency, and how did that show up? What did that look like, and how did that show up? Right? Because
I'll go first.
Go ahead, Kelly.
I'll go first, and I'll answer the question at the same time. Is that okay? Wait, did you finish the question?
See.
No? Why are you shaking your head, JR?
I think he had a few more syllables. Louise, you probably got to say period on the end.
All right, period.
All right.
Okay, so to answer the first question and then Louise's question, should a man marry for love or service? I think a man should marry for respect and service. So to me, service is important because, and I'll answer your question in this, when I meet a man, number one, a lot of men don't know where they're going. They don't have their purpose set. They don't have their plan. They're not actively seeking it out. But that's the first thing I want to find out from you. And Dr. Miles Monroe said a good woman studies her husband. She studies him. So she's trying to find out where you want to go in life. What are your goals? What are your purpose? Give me your 6-month plan, your 1-year plan, your 5-year plan. I want to know where you're going because I want to know if what you want to do is something I can support. Because if you tell me you want to be a drug lord, I can't support you. Sorry, I'm out. You tell me you want to be the next ghost from that show, I can't support you. I'm out. If you want to, human traffic children, I can't support you. All those make money, and these are active business plans that some men are dabbling, and I can't support that. So I want to know where you're going. What drives you? What's your passion in life? Because sometimes I'll meet a guy. I mean, not now, but before, when I would meet a guy, I would say, so what do you do for a living? And it wasn't to find out how much money they made. It was to find out, are they living in their passion? If they tell me, oh, I do this, I'm like, well, how do you feel about it? Do you love it? They could be a doctor. I'm like, do you love what you do? Because if you're not passionate about it and you'd rather be doing something else, I don't want to be with a man that is miserable but makes money. I want to help you achieve your goal. So what exactly is it that you want to do if you're not doing it? And how can we get there? if you tell me what you want to do, I can help you get there. I just need to know what it is. So a lot of times those are the questions I ask for. So what do you do for a living? Okay. Do you like that? Do you enjoy it? Do you love it? No, not really. What would you rather be doing? My father used to always say, find out what you love to do and find a way to get people to pay you to do it. So I always take that stance, like, don't live life miserably, do what you love. So I help people. I'll help men set up a plan. I'll help them goals. I'll help them get grants. I'll do whatever I have to do to insert myself in your life to help make it better. But if a man doesn't know where he's going, I don't know. I go to work. I work at Wendy's and I come home and I watch TV. I can't work with that because you don't know what you want to do and you're not actively trying to pursue anything. What am I going to help you do? Watch TV after you get home? So, but I think that's it. So yes, I study my man. Why are you smirking like that?
Who?
So to answer your question, how many guys actually show up like with the plan? Can you just ask it again? Like,
so essentially, how many men are you interacting with, having conversations, or dating with? And this is a conversation for all women who have a plan. Like I have one, and I break mine down from, from finances to investment to children. How are we going to raise these children? Private school, public school, homeschool. You know what I'm saying? Family nutrition. How many vacations? Where are certain? Where do we live? How many investment properties? What does that look like? How does that set up? How do we set up a vehicle for educational purposes, and how does that get paid for our child? You know what I'm saying? Retirement. Career.
Are these not normal conversations?
That's what I was about to say. I mean, I feel like these are conversations that you have when you're courting or getting to know a person. Like,
I know all these answers on the third date. I need to know.
But that's what he's saying. Some of these guys don't have these answers. So
some of these women are not asking these questions too, right?
First of all, you overwhelm a woman when you ask all of them good questions. They have no idea what you're talking about.
Like, but mind you, I'm just giving you the elevator pitch of what I'm talking about. My shit goes way deeper, and this is the reason why. Because when I've dated women in the last year and a half, I've asked these things and I've formulated it, and a lot of them have told me, they're like, no one has ever brought this up to me. No one's ever, no man has ever. So a lot of them,
if you don't know these answers, you shouldn't be dating. You should be getting to know yourself, especially at this age. You should know these answers.
No. I personally know these answers for myself.
Oh no, I know you do because you know the questions.
Hold on, yeah.
So some people aren't even thinking about the question.
Kelly, let him finish.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, he was going in now. I didn't. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I have a good understanding, but I'm finding that if like I want to understand, because we talk about purpose, and direction and stuff like that for men, but I have to also be more honest, and we need to be more honest about what percentage of men are really have these things written down, ironed out, are working, check, they're at this or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that's the interaction that I'm having, because we want a woman to get on a man's program, but some dudes don't even have shit on paper to even follow a program too.
Louise, that's the difference between the men that are actually dating intentionally because they know who they are and what they have to provide, and the men that are dating, just going with the flow, don't really have a plan for themselves, let alone a woman. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's, what was that phrase? When the student is ready, the master will arrive. When the husband is ready, the wife will arrive. Like, the wife will present herself. Like, if a man is in a position where he's operating, you have a plan set for your life, you have a vision, you know what your purpose is, you know how a woman fits into that, then a woman is going to have no choice but to recognize that. And we do more often than not, if we're also in that mental space, we'll say, this is what my plan is. Or if he shares with you what his plan is, you can see whether or not you can fit, whether or not you can add to that, whether or not you can be a cultivator within that space. And that's how things tend to unfold the way they should or shouldn't, I think.
I think everybody needs to go get the game deeper discussions or conversations and ask these questions because that's just crazy. I want to know
Yeah.
sooner rather than later. I want to know.
Anybody else want to add on to it?
I think Real Precious. I don't think she got the answer. I,
Um,
I, I thought Fantasy was gone, but Nightmare still continues.
Well, I could. You know what? I do got stuff I need to do. So bye. Have a good one, you guys.
see ya. Um, so the question was, at what point, or are guys coming already with that plan, right? Is what you're saying?
The original was that basically Story House said men marry beautiful women because she adds to status, but a real marriage is about service. If she doesn't come with a heart ready to serve her man,
I think
and
she answered that.
Yeah, I answered that.
yeah,
I answered
oh,
that.
okay.
Louise's
I
question.
answered that. Yeah.
No, I was
Louise,
talking about
okay, Louise.
I'm sorry.
My bad, my bad. So I thought she went already, but go ahead.
Yeah, I
For
did
me,
go. I didn't answer Luis's question as far as the man coming prepared. Is that what your question
Yeah.
was?
So I
With their
mean, so my
purpose.
question was pretty much around like how many men are you interacting, having conversations, or dating who have a level of detail about where their roadmap is going, their life, their purpose. What does that look like? How is it laid out? How does that person that they're seeking fit into that plan, right? Because I hear it being talked, but people don't have receipts. I always ask, like, y'all
Yeah.
gotta ask for receipts. What does that look like and how does it show up? Where is it written? You know what I'm saying? Show me step by step. And sort of what I added earlier, you just kind of going about family investments, children, what are their conditions, etc. How are we raising these kids? That's just the elevator pitch. It gets way
Mm.
deeper than that. And sort of, I'm curious to know on a global scale how many women are actually interacting with individual men who are able to answer those questions or have those things laid out in a way where you feel comfortable that this man has a purpose, doesn't have a commentary, has a purpose. Because it's one thing to say, it's another thing to be executed.
Yeah. Not a lot. Not a lot of them are coming that way. And I don't know if guys aren't coming that way because they're fearful of who is trying to take advantage of them, because guys are very, you know, leery of that too. Like, if I've been taken advantage of in the past, and so I'm not going to reveal everything. And I think that sometimes it could be to, their downfall, because I think if you're ready, I think if you know where you want your life to go and you're ready to have a wife, then there should be no problems. There should be no problems. Um, but I don't think that a lot of men have that plan, because just like women were raised in single family homes, so were men. And it takes longer for them to actually figure it out. Like, okay, I need to have this done at this point in my life. I need to have this in place for my children at this point in my life. If you don't see it, you just learn a lot later. Or if you don't seek out the help, you learn a lot later, and that hinders you when it comes time to have a wife. You're still working on that plan. You're still working on what it is that you need to provide in order to have that family structure. So I think it is a issue. And I also think that women, like Kelly was saying earlier, just because you're a helpmeet, that doesn't mean that you're a helpmeet for every man. Every man is not your husband. So that also has to be taken into consideration too, because some things that men do provide or do have, a woman needs to realize if she can help him or not. Does he need that grant? Does he need someone to write out a outline for him, or a proposal or something like that? So he may not be all the way at the top yet, right? He may not have every single thing, but as a woman, if that is your person, if that's the person that you're supposed to be with, are you helping him get there? And I think that some men do need help, right? But I don't think that some women are capable, just like men don't want women to come half-assed per se, or like
Nope.
you still need things to work on. I don't think women want that either. A lot of women don't want a man that she has to raise per se, and for
Nope.
lack of better words, she wants that man to have already um gotten his plan and gotten what he wants for his life, so that he can actually choose the woman that's suitable for him and can help him in his life at that point in time.
Also, to add to that, a lot of men don't even know what a help meet is. Like like if you hit them with the "Can I help you? Can I take something off your plate?" They don't even know what that looks like because they're so used to carrying the weight and doing everything on their own, and everything having to be on them, and everyone relying on them. They don't even know what it's like. I'm like, literally, I'm like, JR, what do you need? Just scrape some off your plate, put it on my plate, because there's so many things that your mind, your creative mind needs to be able to do. And these little things I can take care of. So I'm like, what is it? Like, give me your schedule. Let me take this, this, and this, so you have time to do all the other things, especially with a man that's consistently building. They need time to create and build and develop new things. So they don't have time to sometimes sit around and do the little piddly things. I remember when he was planning for the Lapeef Let's Talk live show, there were so many like ins and outs and little things. A lot of people think, oh, it was a great show, but like they don't realize how much it took he had to pour into it. And I remember sometimes he was like, yeah, I can't stop right now because I gotta do this, I gotta do this. I'm like, what is it that I can do? He's like, he was like, I don't really know. I'm like, what do you need? What do you need done? And I almost had like, what do you need done? And he was like, this. I'm like, I'll take those three things. We worry about the rest, So like I called the hotel and spoke with the coordinator for it. I drew out the floor plans where they want the tables. I helped with the lightings. I helped write a contract for some of the people who are coming. So it's like, now these are things you don't have to worry about. So you have you have time to work on the other things. And I think that's important. And a lot of men don't even know what that feels like to like, I can give this to someone. And a lot of men don't even trust to hand it over. But I think if you prove that you're a woman that can be trusted to take on this, and you do it and you show him your value, then I think, and that's me, I'm definitely the co-pilot. I don't want to be pretty. Granted, I mean, that's obvious, but that, like, it's way more than that. It's like, I want to make your life easier. What is my presence in your life going to do to make your life easier? So that's my goal. Like, I don't want you to stress. I don't want you to have a stroke. I don't want you to have high blood pressure. I want you to be relaxed, be at peace, be calm. What can I do in your life to take these burdens off so you can have a more relaxed feeling? Like, what is your goal? When do you want to retire? How can we get there? Let's make up the plan and let's get to it. I'm not the flight attendant, for damn sure.
So real precious, are you saying you don't want no fixer upper? You want no fixer upper man?
It's not about not wanting a fixer upper.
No.
I always say all the time, it's about being with a man who has confidence. If you have confidence that you're confident that you can get things done, I don't have to have confidence for the both of us. I as I feel like
you
as a
still have to
man,
have
you
a
should.
plan and know where they're going. That's not
Yeah, and a confident man does, right? A confident man knows where he's going. A confident man also knows that he needs help with that. You know what I mean? It's not about, I think the man that don't realize that he needs help is a failing man.
Right. I don't want to fix her
You know?
up. I'll just say it.
I think that, being honest about that is okay. It's okay to say, I have all these things on my plate, but I think that you're the right teammate. Nobody's going to put a guard on their team if they don't know how to dribble. They're not going to put a shooting guard on the team if they don't know how to shoot. So you got to have that confidence that you can get it done. So it's not necessarily about having a fixer upper. Everybody wants to be with someone that is aware, that is capable to take care of themselves and are also aware of the opposite sex and their strengths and where they can help you.
So I'm gonna say it like, no, Hank, I don't want to fix her up there. No, because how would I feel comfortable as a woman being led by somebody that's a fixer upper? I feel like the confidence that men do possess is in knowing that they have the receipts that we spoke to earlier, that they have a plan, that they have not failed themselves, that they know where they are going. If you don't have those things, essentially you're waiting. And of course, there's an age on that too, right? Before a point, I'll say, right? When I was younger, the things that I prioritized were different. And even then, I feel like younger women tend to date men that we feel like we can learn things from, or men that intrigue us in a way, men that we feel proud to represent. So a woman's not going to feel safe or comfortable or be able to confidently walk outside with her head held high being the helpmate of a fixer upper, because now you getting beat down and he can't necessarily guide you. And
my mom didn't get with no fixer upper. She got with a man who
right,
could provide and who could look after children, who could pray and who could, hold his own.
And my stepdad was that too. So most definitely not into the whole fixer upper concept. Nope.
What exactly is a fixer upper? Because I'm thinking about a car that breaks down every time you drive over. So
that's the or a putt. When I hear
a man who can't keep a job and got one every 6 months to a few years, and he always need a ride, and I let me hold him.
A project.
Yeah.
No.
So
yeah, it sounds like a personal project. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate your honesty, and again, man, it just shows what I've been saying, what I'm going to say. Hey, man, expectations are high on us, but ladies, y'all have no expectations for yourselves. We don't have to have expectations for y'all. We just got to accept you as you are, and we'll be okay with a fix-up-a woman. And you better accept me as I am, even if that means I'm 15 minutes late. Doesn't matter. Accept me as I am. But man, you better not be 15 minutes late.
Can I just say something?
See how that's going to go over with you. See how well that's going to go over in the conversation on that day. We have so many high standards and requirements that men have to bring. Like we have to bring that plan. Y'all required must be a plan. Y'all will I accept a fixer-upper man. But where's the patience for us? But we have to have that same level of patience for y'all and give y'all grace. But this thing doesn't expect the same stuff. So how are we equally yoked? If the expectations is a certain level for a man, but very low for a woman.
I think a fixer-upper man should be with a fixer-upper wife, and y'all can go to the shop together.
But even we have to make the same money, we're still not equally yoked because the expectations are different, right? We will accept y'all bottom standards, but you will not accept.
But you shouldn't. You shouldn't.
If you're talking about a man that can't keep a job.
That's what we got. That's what most of these ladies have to offer us.
If you're talking about can't keep a job, that's bottom of the barrel standard. That's not even a real standard.
How is that
from an adult?
Right. And then if there's this hierarchy there where it's God, man, woman, child, we're not the ones giving you we can't give you a sense of duty. Like you need to have that for yourself as a man to know what you want to accomplish. And of course there's a double standard there. Of course there's a higher expectation of men than there is of women. Y'all know that though. So I don't get what the pushback is or what the frustration is. Maybe y'all got to take that up with y'all creator and not with women, and not be frustrated with women that we were created women and y'all were created men. I know that this world, for whatever reason, people got issues with roles and whatever. Men want to complain about what they're supposed to do or how they're meant to show up or whatever. If you choose not to do that, that's on you. But when it comes to foundational family, we know how things are supposed to go. It's never supposed to, it's not about equality. It's about the equity. It's about everyone bringing, you have your contributions, and women, we have our contributions.
And if it's not about equality, why y'all fight so hard for it?
I don't know who y'all is, but
lady, why do women fight so hard for it? Then if it's not about equality, and we all know, because I had to take it up with my creator, then why y'all fight so hard for it?
I disagree with him just because you're telling women to accept a fixer-upper, but men are expected to be the leader. And you want a woman to come fix you up to be the leader? I think a man should not be dating if he's not ready to be the woman. He needs to go to the body shop. He needs to do the work inside and out. Get his engine cleaned or whatever, do that inner work, go to the body shop, do whatever you need to do, and then present yourself as the leader, not come as a
fixer-uppers wouldn't be here if we waited for that.
While I fix myself up, can you help me?
90% of us wouldn't be here on the earth right now if we all waited for what you just said.
But Hank, I think you're both right into one degree, but we have to be very honest and very cognitive. A man who is a fixer-upper who's looking for a woman is not looking for a woman to build. He's looking for a woman for access to sex because this
and resources. Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay
resources. I'm gonna say, I know I cut out. I'm gonna say this again. A man who is a fixer-upper is not looking for a woman to go into a relationship and build together. He's looking for that particular woman for access to sex, because if that man was already an able-bodied man, maybe he's missing elements because he's looking for a helpmate and a woman to, put her in a certain type of position for them to grow and that relationship to evolve. That's completely different. But unfortunately, what is happening is that a man, or a particular type of man, I don't want to say it's all men, I think there is a subset, a group of men who are unfortunately missing the mark because they're showing up only wanting one access piece for a woman, as opposed to putting her in a position for her to grow and flourish and that relationship to be reciprocal.
Well, let me say this: the same people that y'all love to use is the Michelle Obama, right? Barack wasn't all the way right when she got with him. He was a fixer-upper,
but he had purpose. He was a lawyer.
He still was a fixer-upper. He wasn't all the way right, man. He just wasn't.
He hadn't fulfilled his purpose. Just he was on the path for it.
But it's still under the umbrella of a fixer-upper, though.
I think there's certain fixer-upper.
That's why I asked you what
there's levels to that too, because a man has to be honest where he needs help at. If you're honest where you need help at, that's one thing. But there are men who aren't honest where they need help at, or they won't ask questions, or they won't get the help that they need. And they think a woman is supposed to come along and help with your financial issues from 5 years ago. And it's like, no, maybe you should have gotten someone to help you with that, so then you can be on track with it, to sustain yourself. It's a self thing before it becomes a we thing. So I think if you're honest about where you need help at, and you're honest with yourself, then okay. If a woman is that helpmate, if she is your helpmate, then I can understand that. But there are men who are not honest about what they need help with in their lives, and they continue their lives and they work, and maybe they're doing something that's not necessarily, aligned with their purpose. And they're trying to date and they're trying to find a woman, and they're not on the right track yet. And I think that woman can find it, especially women who were raised with fathers. It's almost like you're telling a woman who was raised with a father to be with someone who she didn't have an example of being with her mom or someone. It's like, that's not what I saw. You know what I mean? But again, you have to be honest where you need help with, and that fixer-upper man, if he was honest where he need help with, maybe he could find a wife a little bit sooner, because he would be able to find someone who's able to help him with those things. But I think a lot of men try to go on in life and they're not honest about what they need help with, and they try to kind of like fake it a little bit. And the woman is like, but you're not even, And so if you're honest with that woman, you probably can find your helpmate. And I don't even want to say fixer upper because everybody is flawed. We talk about being heathens, Hank. We're all flawed. We all need help. We all need someone, you know, two is better than one. But like I was saying earlier, and like Kelly was saying earlier, we're not everybody's wife. You as a man is not everybody's husband.
So I think I love that you said that, but the other side of that is like it's not even just about being honest about where you need help. It's about knowing where you need help. And the fact that just because you need help, that's not what makes a man a fixer upper. Him not knowing where he needs help is what makes him more fixer upper than him actually needing help. If he doesn't know where he's going, he knows like I need a woman because I need her to provide all the things, whether it be her body, her mind, her companionship, her service, but he doesn't know what he needs her help for. He's just going to be opportunistic and he's just going to be taking, and he'll never be able to really, he's going to take it for granted, because how can you appreciate what's being poured into you if you don't even know what kind of, you know, like what you need for your well? Like there's what you need to kind of like, again, I'm gonna say the word, cultivate that garden. Like you don't know what you need. So how can you then turn around and ask somebody else to give you what you need, sort of thing? So I think the whole idea of a fixer upper man is not so much the man that needs assistance, or not the man that needs help, or not the man that needs a woman that to encourage him and maybe support him, but the man that has no idea what he wants to do with himself. He's not guided, he has no vision, he has no plan, but yet he's expecting from a woman to come a certain way when he himself is not even that way. That's the fixer upper, in my opinion.
All right.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, go. We're gonna finish off with Kelly Connections, then we'll go ahead and transition to the end. Go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, I forgot my thought. It's cool. We can end.
All right. With that being said, I'm going to get to these 3 super chats real quick. JS Story Tales on the panel donating to the panel. Salute to you, sir, with a $20 donation. Vic. Oh, that was a question he had. So really, marriage, politics, and sports. $10 also. A member says the real precious. What you are saying is that women need to vet man as we vet women for marriage. The problem is both sides fall short. Just want to thank people that have donated their contributions to the platform. We appreciate you. If you haven't already, hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow everybody on their individual platforms. Kelly Connections has YouTube. Peek in the Basement has YouTube. The Real Precious does. Follow Lady Mogulette. She has great things going on as well. Luis, great designer. And JS on YouTube as well. Great show, family. Also, make sure you follow. Who dropped off? You getting old out here, man.
Joey.
Cloud.
I think that's it. And
yeah,
Cloud.
Follow Cloud and who else?
Joy.
Fantasy.
You guys follow them. I'm almost 60, folks, so y'all gotta excuse me when I come here. The community 199 says good discussion. Salute to you. So let's go ahead and in the show, family. Great show. Turned out well. Y'all follow Bruiser and Sir Hell as well. Thank you guys for the content for today's show. And we out, man. Just like that, we out. All right.
Appreciate y'all.
All right, y'all.
question. So we promote marriage, we promote relationships for men. That's what we're about. We think that it's the backbone of our society, so on and so forth. But is it unrealistic for men to marry for the idea of love? And I ask this because women become men's weakness. The woman most men love becomes his weakness. It's what you alluded to earlier, Tyrese saying that he still loves this woman who is, obviously trying to screw him over. So is the idea of love for a man unrealistic? And if it is, then what is beside business, what's a good reason for a man to pursue marriage?
Well, the reason for a man to pursue marriage is to give it's a selfless service. I look at it as a selfless service. And the service is primarily towards your child. And the child and with the intention of having the child raised correctly so that you can continue to build something, as a race or as a group, as a people. And the love is a connection that comes between you and a woman and a child. But also you have love for your kind, your ethnicity, your culture, your people, your ancestors, your tribe, your family. It's a historical thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not solely based on, the transactions you get between a man and a woman sexually, emotionally, and all that, physically, stuff like that. But it's deeper, you know what I'm saying? So it is worth it, but it's becoming monetized. It's becoming more swayed towards the business side, like you stated. So whenever it's more swayed towards the business, when it's more leaning towards the business side, then one could argue that it's unrealistic for you to lead off with love, to marry for love. And that's what it appears to be. It appears that, I mean, honestly, Sir Hell, I would tell brothers, hey, look, you got to find something else other than love to be married for. There needs to be something else. That can't be the only thread, the only string that's holding you together, because it's a feeling and it could change. I can't tell you how many times me and my wife argue to a point where I'm not gonna say it on live, but it changes, and you just got to de-escalate. So what do? Like you have something else to back you. You go, okay, what do we have? We have memories. We have a life together. We have future. We have goals. We have children. So whenever you look at the children, you're able to make a determination like, okay, look, I'm here for more than just you. I'm here for more than just love. You know what I'm saying? I want to see some progression amongst my community, my people. And ultimately, I want to see our community reestablished. And the only way we can do that is strength in numbers. If we don't come together as a community and we don't have any structure, any class, a common goal, a mutual connection, that we want to achieve as a people, how can we ever reestablish a community when we're divided? When men and women are going astray and we only here for transactional reasons. You get what I'm saying?
I definitely get that. Yeah. So I appreciate you answering that. The reason why I asked it is because it's interesting. Like Tyrese was one of the guys who've been singing about love his entire career. You know what I mean? Like his whole career is based off of love and finding this woman. And to see him dealing with it, and I say this to say, I think that so many men have been pumped with the idea of find the woman that loves you. And once you get a man to pursue a woman from that mind frame, he can't really see who she really is. He can't see further than that. And so I think men should pursue wives. I think men should do that. But men should do it with their heads and not with their hearts. Because if they do, they put themselves in a position to get with a woman who gives them just enough to blind him from seeing who she really is. So I really appreciate you answering that.
And that's very interesting. So it's like if you prioritize love, and that's like your whole motivation, and your whole reason is built on that. That can literally limit you from being able to touch other things that may be important to the point that holds you together. If love actually fails, and you'll just be stuck with that connection, and you don't have anything else to be in a marriage for. That's an interesting way to look at things.
Well, here's the thing. So a lot of men marry a beautiful woman because she adds to his status. But real marriage is not based off of how she bolsters his status. It's really about her service. And unless a man finds a woman who comes in with the heart ready to serve her man and to really produce something for his life, he's going to marry wrong. And you will see it. as time goes on, he becomes her come up. And the reason he's her come up is because she was looking for help. She wasn't looking to help. And I think it's important for men, especially men of means, to vet women and see how she can be in addition to his life, and not bolster his status, but provide service, because that's what a wife is. She's a helpmate. She's to provide a service to her husband and to her family as well.
Excellent. That makes a lot of sense, and that kind of exposes a lot of issues that a lot of guys are going through. And I would even argue that in that case that you presented, that oftentimes a man with so much power and stature and status and stuff and wealth could possibly overwhelm the woman and make them feel like they can't even amount to have anything to add to it as far as helping her or supporting her. Like, oh, this is Tyrese. He loves me. He wants me. What could I possibly do for this guy? And they just leave it at like, and I think it goes to a woman's head, and she just think that she's just this being, that, oh, that's enough. Your beauty, you know what I'm saying, your attraction, that's it. And she probably, her head swells, and she's like, well, I don't have to do shit else. And then I'm sure you can attest, she's probably got a circle of friends in her head like, yes, girl, we knew you can get a man like that. We was waiting on it. That's all you got to do. Get him, make that man do this for you. Don't take, and that's where it ends at. And she doesn't really get to the point where she can actually support this man, because she don't see herself having to do anything else, because she felt like, oh, she's kind of overwhelmed. Like, wow, like this is what I have to do. Mama raised me right, I guess. So
That's a fact.